is that we've got Melissa, followed by Catherine, followed by, oh no, Noelle, who may be in the other room. Is Noelle here or in the other room? Probably in the other room. Okay, so no, I'm sure she'll present when she gets back. Uh, Melissa, Catherine, Oriana. Does that order sound good?
Was I included in that, Jamie?
Who's asking? Sorry.
Daniel.
Oh,
Daniel?
Daniel. I'll add you at the end after the ladies, if that's all right with you.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. You're in, Daniel, after Oriana. Okay.
Super duper.
All right, awesome. Thanks for your patience, sir. Okay. With that, Melissa, are you ready?
Sure.
Oh,
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jamin's partner. My name is Melissa Koch. I am an artist, and I grew up in Europe, but I came back to America to carve canoes with a Native American. He's from the Haida tribe, and the program was called Carving Cultural Connections. So we are working on teaching people about taking care of Mother Earth, slowing down, and taking care of the forests. It was an amazing program, and sadly, the one of the co-creators who was going to present with me, Osberto Cicernos, who's from Mexico, he had to leave for another conference. We went over time. We were thinking we were going to present at 4, so I will introduce him, even though he's not here now. And Jackie Solomon, some of you may know, who worked with Silesh on the Vegan 2026 campaign, amazing Puerto Rican woman. She cannot be here either. So I just wanted to say that after listening to Guy McPherson and Ye Tao, it's like a roller coaster ride for me. So I had this presentation, and then I heard Guy, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. It's the downward donkey on the roller coaster. And it's like, what's the point? And then you get to the bottom of that one, and then Ye starts slowly. If any of you been on that roller coaster, you start going tick, 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 back up, back up, back up, back up. So I think I'm back up somewhere. I'm not quite sure how high I got, but so I use my art. I do public art installations, temporary ephemeral public art installations to I use my art as a way to advocate for the planet, to talk about all non-human species, which we need to start loving and taking care of again. So that could be honeybees, butterflies, squirrels, ravens, orca whales, salmon, trees, flowers, you name it. I love them all. And they're a family to me. And I really want to bring people into this connection through story. So my work, I'll put my website in the chat so you guys can check out my website. My work really is visual storytelling to bring people back into this connection. I work with children. I'm an arts educator. I work with youth, and I use art as a way to bring healing through reconnecting to Mother Earth. So when Jamin, I really want to thank you, Jamin, for creating and being so persistent and loving and getting this up and going. I know it's been hard work for many, many years and a lot of obstacles, but I think Ganesh removed those today. So I told him it's kind of like seeing popcorn, when it starts, all of a sudden it gets that heat and it's just like firing and it's crazy. So when Jamin invited all of us to be part of this press conference, I was like, gosh, well, what could I do? I'm an artist, that's my vehicle. And I really thought about this and, stepping forward for Mother Earth, it allows us to do things we wouldn't normally do. And so a sequence of serendipity and synchronicity brought me to, and someone else had talked about this as well, it was the Alice in Wonderland lady, co-creating this monthly session, I'll call it that, with Osberto and Jackie. So it's something we're working on now. We're going to start in the new year, probably sometime in January. We thought we'd do this once a month. And it's a journey we would like to invite you and everyone else who's interested to embark on, which is about self-discovery and transformation using astrology. So Osberto is a marvelous astrologer, a scientist, and a master yogi, and art. That's me. I bring in the art segment, and mythology, and Jackie will work on that part. And using these as tools to guide people and all of us to explore an understanding of our highest ideal self and our place in the world, and the part that we play in this new story as we go through these major changes and challenges that we are all facing now at this time on the planet. It's going to, and these workshops will enable us to connect with our core emotions, because we need to really tap into our emotions again, get in touch with all these feelings that are going on, whether it's grief or joy. Map our paths and purpose. That's where astrology can come in, and see this cosmic dance that's happening now, because there are these archetypes that are happening. There are new stories, new archetypes, and a new mythology that's being created. And so we want to look at that. And I don't know if any of you had readings done by astrologers before. I look at those maps and I go, what the hell is that? You know, all those triangles and squares, and I don't understand what it means. So we really want to do this hands-on thing where people can learn about that. And it's not this mysterious thing anymore, but you can actually start to map stuff yourself, which I think would be super exciting. And I want to do that. So hopefully you'll come join us. And also, so we can map our paths and our purpose and develop our authentic voices and find creative ways to express ourselves and to become holistically functioning beings, stepping into our destiny and manifesting our gifts in the here and now to help Mother Earth and to help all species. So we want to make this really fun. We're going to be offering creative, fun, engaging art exercises, and to explore astrology, as I mentioned, and really kind of bring us into this connection with our core values, healing trauma, connecting to nature, and really coming into connection with this cosmic myth that we're all part of, and this birthing of ourselves into these new beings in this new world. So I have a little bit about Osberto. So he's Mexican. He studied science, so he's a science teacher. He's a practicing yogi and astrologist. Jackie is a Taino woman from Borican, which is the indigenous name for Puerto Rico. She's raised in New York City, and she is a Native American activist with a life mission of working to decolonize minds and re-indigenize body and spirit through whole foods and plant-based nutrition. She has a nonprofit called Seeds to Inspire and supports underrepresented, underfinanced, and marginalized communities in Phoenix, Arizona. So her work helps facilitate collective trauma, healing, restoring balance, and homeostasis on the planet through the divine feminine. I hope you'll come and join us and co-create this with us and really kind of explore who we are and why we're here now. Love you all. I will put my website in the chat, and sorry I went over 2 minutes. And I just have to tell you one little story. I've been working on this squirrel to come and take peanuts out of my hand. Today he came 10 times and took peanuts from my hand and climbed up my leg. Yay! So this is a connection we got to make again. Make nature our friends. Love you all.
Love you, sweetheart. Oh my goodness. So beautiful. Thank you for taking the time. Wow. All right. Well, up next, we've got Catherine, followed by Oriana, followed by Daniel. If you're ready, Catherine, whenever you're ready. And you're on mute there, Catherine. You're muted. Yeah. There you go.
Here we go. Okay. So thank you. And thank you for staying. I really appreciate it. It's been fabulous, though. It really has. The energy you guys have and the dedication has just been amazing. So I know we all love our planet. I think I'm speaking to the choir here, and we all know that we need to change. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But I think there's two questions that we're all kind of churning with. How do we change, and what do we change to? And then what stops us? So most people have one of two major belief systems. And we've talked a little bit about beliefs in the chat. And beliefs are so strong because we really believe they're true. You know, they're like the unwritten rules that we just trust. But unfortunately, neither of these belief systems really support a thriving planet. So the first one has to do with fear. It's fear-based, it's protective, it's about me and my family, it's about having strong rules that everybody will live with, and it's pretty much male-dominated. The second one is all about winning and progress. So we want more stuff. We want to prove how great we are. We want bigger, better. Everything is great. It's all about competition, proving how strong we are, how fabulous we are, how creative we are. It's about showing off and status. And males are still really important. We are seeing the results of these everywhere. And yet they're what we fall back to. It's what feels most comfortable. It's what we're most familiar with. Both of these are human focused, and they're limited to the limited understanding we have about our needs, which is mostly stuff, are foremost. That's kind of the measuring stick. So we need to take a shift. And it's a big one, but it's a brilliant one. And that is learning to live like the planet. So it's a slower pace, slower pace. It's appreciative, it's filled with gratitude. And I think after Yi's presentation, it's part of the and. It's what will carry us through once we survive this immediate crisis. The mirrors may stop it, but it's not going to bring us life forward. And we do need to slow down. And yes, it's not going to deal with the rapid pace of change we got now, but it will create a life we can live with once we survive this crisis. The COVID lessons have really talked about death versus responsibility. We're beginning to see that we need to be responsible in order to live. And it's brought us hidden gifts, clean air and connection with family, seeing animals come back. I mean, it's really, you have to think about it. If nature wanted to send us a message, how would she do it? What would happen? Maybe that's what this is about. So let's take it and really run. Learn to be regenerative. So what I'm offering on the third Thursday of every month at bridge2partnership.com/events is a chance to explore problem solving from a new perspective. We problem solve from these two old belief systems, and it's not working, hasn't worked, and yet it's the habits we have. So if you come, bring a problem, we'll play with it, we'll try and solve it in a way in which nature will thrive. That's the key. Very simple, not easy, but very simple. So I'd love to see you on the third Thursday from 4 to 5. You can sign up and get a link to the Zoom from my website at bridge2partnership.com/events. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Wow. My goodness. All righty. Now, before I pass it to Oriana, followed by Daniel, first let me take the temperature of the room and see, is there anyone who needs to present sooner rather than later? Wave your arms with the level of franticness proportional to your urgency to present. See Leslie is going kind of a little bit frantic. That's telling me like 20-minute time frame. Pauline's going crazy. She needs to present now. Okay. I'm just kidding. And then Pauline's my sister. That's what I like to say.
Leslie, Pauline.
Okay.
Oh, there's Pauline.
Okay, so we got Leslie, and who else wants to present sooner rather than later? Okay, so Leslie, are you okay after Daniel? Okay, after Oriana. Okay, great. And thanks for speaking up. All right, I'll take the temperature again. Oh, and Jimena. Are you okay
Yes.
after Leslie, Jimena? Okay. Anyone else while I'm building the queue? And I'll come back to it in a couple of Stan? Okay, Stan. All right. Yeah. Okay, so Stan after Jimena. Unless you need to go sooner, Stan, because I know it's getting late, a little late. Okay, great. All right, without further ado, we've got Oriana. Please take it away, sister.
So this is a condensed view of the pool of wonder. And the pool of wonder is, learning how we're 99% water by number of molecules. Whoa, so we're literally floating in water. And the universe is 99% plasma, ionized particles that Oh, find a little speck of stardust. And begin to pull and turn and spin and spiral. Oh, condensing in, curving space-time. Oh, and water forms from the formlessness. The whole world in a drop of water. You look up. Oh, atmosphere. And you look down, that little speck of stardust, earth. Inside a dewdrop. Oh, in a cosmic ocean that is a drop in a celestial sea. And so the fractal pattern unfurls and unfolds. And where it can be known is inherently inherited. It's within. It's within what we've always known. What is it that is unknown, still to unfurl, and encoded within as inherently knowable? Oh, all of evolution, 3.8 billion years on a little speck of stardust. First forming water, wanting to explore, forms a membrane around a structure. Oh, how might we go explore the sea as aquatic beings and the land as mammalian forms? Oh, and what of the plants that grow in the sun and bring the sun into energy? Chloroplasts. Evolved from a one-celled organism, an archaea, the oldest fossilized form, became a chloroplast. No, wait, the plankton in the sea. Oh, and the mitochondria all evolved from one form, from the formlessness, wanting to explore a physical world. How would water make its intelligence known as the entelechy of evolution, where all life forms come into inherently knowing water flows through structure, holding energetic flow, the universal life force that flows through the inheritance, genetic code. What we have in common is life force of terrestrial origin, an aquatic form, 3.8 billion years, life, originating water, flowing into form, communicating intracellularly through the genetic coil of matrilineal lineage, the great mother, encoded in chloroplasts of trees, plankton of the seas, mitochondria of mammals, cetaceans, life flowing into form inside, the pool of wonder, like slipping into a warm bath, is inside the bone marrow. The bones act, like a soundproof booth that screams out all other informational waves. And inside, in the pool of wonder, is the quiet. What does quiet feel energetically, electrically? Quiet. And I hear the stem cells. The stem cells carry the evolutionary learning billions of years in 9 months, unfolding a one-celled organism to a multi-celled being, flowing water into a terrestrial world. The entelechy of evolution encoded within is to return to our aquatic knowing, that which is inherently knowable, as you learned its languaging 9 months in amniotic fluid, floating in water, water communicating. Flow into form. And every stem cell holds the knowing, floating in the aqua environment, feels the flowing into form wherever it is needed to restore, regenerate, renew the physical form. As you learn to direct your own stem cells, you direct the stem cell that is the world as one heart inside of one heart inside. We are still. holding one heart. All movement, simultaneous time, emerging in the moment now. Listen inward. Feel the heart of one pulse, a celestial pulse, a higher rhythm you feel inside the pool of wonder. So the Pool of Wonder is Wednesday night, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we go on a very deep journey. And then we write from that, right from the heart, and you allow the heart to speak.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ariana sister. Thank you so much. Wow. I just love all the different spaces we're going through together. And this is part of it, is where it's a collective experience and transformation. And thank you all so much for being here. All righty. Next up in the queue, we've got Daniel, followed by Leslie, followed by Jimena, followed by Stan. And if you'd like me to put you in the queue after them, we got Michael Gallo. All right. Michael is in the queue. Anyone else like to? And we got Charlie. Okay. Charlie's in the queue. Looking around. I'm going to scan the second screen, see if anyone's there. Ben. All right. Ben in Australia. Okay. And anyone else want to jump in the queue while the queuing's good? Okay. And you can always jump in later. So without further ado, Daniel, if you're ready, please take it away, Daniel. Oh, you're on mute there, Daniel. You're on mute. Hey Daniel, we gotta turn off your mute there. It's a button. You just gotta press the button and unmute there.
Super.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go for it, Daniel. Thanks.
First, I thank Oriana for the depth of her communication, the intensity of her understanding. And I say that in an awkward manner, but I've never heard it described in life's approach in such a manner before. And I thank you for that. Now, many of you understand that I'm the oddball out, that I'm attacking all governments in the world. And I promote what I say is the only possible solution to the dangers that we face. And that is a totality. We must end all aspects of industrial society. We must stop our engines, period. And we must do so immediately. And we must call upon our governments to engineer upper atmospheric dimming. Otherwise, I'm in complete agreement with Guy McPherson. It terminates, we're ended, it finishes, it ends, it's total by 2025, 2026. We will starve by 2022. I'm a bit of a mathematician. I've done my numbers, and I'm in Cambodia. I'm able to think without pressure, well, other than the fact that I'm attacking governments nonstop, especially Donald Trump. Some people understand that I am promoting the fox farts thing, the impaling of politicians, as a necessary madness if we wish to save our society, save our children. I urge people to think about this. Remember, I lost my memory from 1963 to 2006, 2009, I'm sorry. That's 46 years with no memory. But I'm told that I had an intellect of some capacity, some level, but here we are. We face disaster, and all the nice words, all the nice songs will not help us. We must deal harshly with our soul reality. We face the end. If we are at all honest towards our children, towards ourselves, towards the concept of a future, we must stop our engines. It's a short and sweet message, a short and harsh message, but we have no choice. If we do not stop, everything will accelerate, and we know that. We're talking about 64, 66, 70, 100 through self-reinforcing feedback loops. It's up to about 109 by now, but I have identified about 30, some very, very, very serious ones that will probably impact us by, well, they're impacting right now, 2021, 2022, and it's all over. What are we to do? Give personal solution pills to help people commit suicide? What are we going to do for our children? I'm sorry, Jamie, but this is the very harsh approach that is necessary. We cannot avoid no more. There can be no more soft words and gentle thoughts. We must curse each other, curse humanity if necessary. Humanity no longer has a choice. Remember, I started the tax refusal. I don't remember that I did, but I'm known for having started the tax refusal and confronting the Canadian government. If we had a right and a duty to refuse to support the development of nuclear weapons, we also have a right and a duty to confront the collapse of everything that has made life meaningful. We have lost it. We must put aside the madness, put aside the greed that has cursed all of mankind. And we must continue as best as we can. I urge everyone, participate, join the effort, stop your engines. Have your children communicate, stop your engines. That's the only answer. Everything's triggered. The madness is accelerating, the heat's accelerating, the methane's accelerating, Laptev feed, the Siberian, we all understand it. There's no avoiding it. There's no sweet talking. We must face it with a cold heart, but hot emotion and a strong determination. We must stop our engines and admit we must stop them, period. One by one, no more new cars, no more electrical cars. Stop everything. That is the only way we will stop putting heat, pollution, further emissions into our atmosphere. It must stop. And on top of that, we must engineer an upper atmospheric dimming. We must call upon our governments to help engineer that. And if we don't, it's over. And the lives that we lived and we told our children will be worthless on the edge of time. The winds of time will blow sand over us. Ozymandias and Percy Bysshe Shelley will be meaningless fragments of our past. And I leave you with that, folks. I'm a harsh, very harsh person. You might access me under Twitter under @RealityDictates. I hope you do. And I hope you take it with the intent that more will act, will stop being silly, will stop being. Remember, Guy McPherson has it. There is no hope. There is absolute no hope, and there's no use having hope. We can no longer lie to our children. We must tell them the truth, what we face and what are we going to do about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. All righty. In the queue, we have Leslie, followed by Jimena, followed by Stan, followed by Michael, followed by Charlie, followed by Ben. Leslie, whenever you're ready, no hurry. Take it away.
Well, hi. I'm ready for any minute my phone to ring and my 5-year-old granddaughter is going to come bursting through the door, which is wonderful. Yeah. So I'll be really brief. I'm speaking now as the co-founder of Common Games. And Common, if you want to find it, is common.is. And our mission is do shit that matters. And so here's what I want to share with you. I want you to imagine a Monopoly game, and you're sitting around it, and you're with 3 of your family members. Now, instead of you playing the game to see who's going to get the real estate, who's going to get the money, who's going to get the houses, all of those assets are divided. Somebody has all the money. Somebody has all the real estate. Somebody has all the hotels. Somebody has all the houses. Now, here's the thing that happens. Tick tock, in a capitalist society, the value of money goes down as time goes on in terms of its return on investment. So as you play the game, less and less money is available for access. Now, as you're playing the game, things happen to that real estate. It gets devalued. It gets completely wiped out through some form of climate change, an earthquake, a fire. It literally is moving as you speak in terms of what you can do with it. Now, you guys have to figure out, how are you going to cooperatively make this happen? There is no competition. The competition is against the elements. The players have to figure out a way to cooperate and strategize how they're going to achieve the collective good. Now let's take away the common thought of real estate being Park Place. That's my granddaughter. She's ringing the door. I wanted to say this, because now I'm going to have to go and get her, is that Common Good is a game that is in development. It is going to be, instead of the board of Monopoly, it is our planet Earth. Instead of it being real estate, it is the reality of our environment. Instead of the money, it is the kind of share economy that we need to operate. And what is it for? It's to learn collaboration at its highest level. You learn a lot about a player when you're working with them collaboratively as opposed to, competitively. It's just in early stages development. I'm calling out a dialogue, a conversation with gamers, with people who are illustrators, with people who want to create a collaborative board game that is going to rock Pandemic. I mean, I don't ever want to play that game again. Pandemic, anybody here playing Pandemic? Okay, that's a great cooperative game. It's just not the right subject matter. Shift the subject matter, figure out how to play with us in a collaborative game, come to a conversation. I'll put the information in the chat. I'd love to chat with you about how we make a board game that really takes family night to another level. I move.
Wow, Leslie, thank you so much, and have a great evening with your granddaughter. And thank you for spending so much of your precious, beautiful time with us.
Well, she's probably going to come and join me here on the screen. So
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah, no, she's coming. She's coming. I just go get her.
Go get her. Go for it.
Can you put your info in the chat for all of us so we can?
I
keep-
will.
Thanks.
I absolutely will.
All right, beautiful. Well, up next is my sister Jimena in Mexico. Bienvenida, querida Jimena. Adelante cuando gustes.
Gracias. Hola a todos. Hi, how are you? How are your hearts doing? I hope you are feeling very joyful and feeling the energy and all we are building here together is wonderful. I'm so glad. I'm so honored to be here with you all. I'm going to talk about healing and accompaniment. So, some of you, I already know you. We have built like a strong relationship. We are friends. We have built confidence and so much respect and admiration to each other. I feel really honored to be part of the love movement that is having and taking place here, shoulder to shoulder. Thank you, Jamin, for making this come true. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, James. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Wee Hours core team. I have had the fun of my life with you here. So, I frankly believe a human being with peace in their heart thinks more clearly, is more willing and able and effective in acting under spiritual guidance, bringing a genuine and potent healing effect into the world. Such humans are harder to manipulate, to distract, or disempower. My contribution as a thanatologist and logotherapist and pranic holistic healer is helping and serve with accompaniment for people to recover from their griefs and triggering their curiosity of a worth its spiritual transcendence. As part of my gift, there is a channelizing of people in other planes to help people as a bridge, as a so-called psychopompo, to help people to get closures with their pendant issues with their loved ones that already passed away. I also teach techniques for people to help their relatives already immobile and change to a bed, or terminal patients already evicted to transcend, to let them go with peace in their hearts and with a sweet and calm approach to death. My proposal is this. I will have 2 open houses. This is one that I wanted to talk about. So this open house is to help people with their needs of healing and relieving their souls. Yes, one of my gifts is I have Wi-Fi with the other side of the veil. So we need to understand that our gifts and talents we need to understand them and put them out at the service to humanity. So this is my contribution. I hope you all come together and share your experiences, open your heart to me, and I hope I could relieve your griefs and your heartaches. Thank you.
Jimena, thank you so much, sister. Wow. What generosity. All righty. Speaking of generosity, we've got Stan, followed by Michael, followed by Charlie, followed by Ben. And feel free to make yourself known if you want to get added to the queue. Now, Stan, Oh yeah, yeah. You're up next, Stan. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you. I just, I have to say, I can't possibly follow Kamina and Leslie. And so you guys all should leave while I talk because it's not going to be any fun. What I would like to do, is what I've been doing for 50 years or more, and that is trying to figure out how to create structures that allow people to keep track of what everything else is going on and help people find each other, because it's the time. This is the time when everybody here comes everybody. Clay Shirky wrote the book Here Comes Everybody about 10 years ago, when he realized, oh my God, 6 billion, 7 billion people are going to be talking to each other all at once. So what are we going to do with it? There we go. What do you got? Here comes everybody. Oh, okay. Clay Shirky. That's the book. That's okay. I actually didn't read the whole thing. He tells a whole lot of stories, which are very nice, but stories are old now. They're stories from 10 years ago. But anyway, the theory of Here Comes Everybody is still valid. And what I want to be able to do is to find a bunch of people, like several million, who want to keep track of what is important to the people around them and what they need and what they have to offer, so that we can make it possible for people to find what they need without having to struggle and without having to pay a whole bunch for it. I mean, one of my favorite examples is somebody in a farmer, some third world country needs a dozen or so gallon jugs made out of plastic they'll last 1,000 years. These things, you buy them at the store, you pay for the grapefruit juice that comes in them or whatever it is, and the damn thing has to get thrown away. I would prefer to see if I can't pack it up and ship it to somebody who needs it. But how do you find that person? So that's the problem I'm trying to figure out how to solve. How do you find somebody that needs something that you don't want? And that's just one part of it. There's a lot of other kinds of interactions that could go on, but we need a system. And I would like to gather the people who think that this is a good idea to talk about, to talk about how do we learn to work with the people in our lives, work with the people in our community in a fair and balanced way, so that we become more helpful to them. Because it's people being helpful to each other that is going to break this logjam that we have of hatred and greed and all the stuff that goes on in the world. I believe it can be cut through by people being helpful to each other in way greater amount. Okay, and we have the what is the term? The imaginal cells. Okay, who are the imaginal cells in this situation we're in? It's the people who are going to be the librarians. I call them librarians for the community. People who are keeping track of who is doing what and helping the networks of networks to network with each other. Okay, so we have to put people to work. They have to be. There's a lot of clerical work to do. So it's kind of, some of it's boring, some of it's fun. Yeah, Julie and I are working on documenting the nature of humanity rising, because there's so much information there, but we have to try to organize it in some way that people can find it. I just made some changes in the resource page, so Julie could go and see that later. But no one group can be the knowledge base for everybody. So it has to be that there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of resource people who are in different subjects areas, like we are all hearing about today. All these people are doing all these wonderful things. They become the center of their universe. Now, how do we have it possible so that whoever needs to find them can find them, and whoever they need to find can be found. That's the problem we have to solve. And I'm thinking it can be done through technology, a combination of people learning how to deal with it and having the technology that makes it easier and easier. So that's where I'm going with it. So I would say, I mean, I decided that from Eastern Coast time, 9 p.m., I think that's 6 p.m., 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, that's, so 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. to 7, 1 hour, 6 to 7 on Thursday evenings. I mean, I'll try to get more formal about advertising this idea, but I'd like to talk to people about being librarians, creating a crowd helping system that can become global eventually. We need to find programmers. We need to, all this kind of stuff that needs to be made in order for it to happen. But we start off by talking about the nature of helpfulness. And that's what we'll do. And I'm releasing this onto the world. This is something I started in 1970 when I ran a storefront called Everything for Everybody, and connected people. And some people got married, and some people found jobs, and all these different things that happened because I was there helping them find each other. So thank you, Jamin. This is a marvelous, marvelous thing. I'm going to be here. You'll have trouble getting rid of me. But yeah, I mean, I'm supposed to go shopping. Okay, forget that. Somebody else can shop. There's 5 of us live here. Thank you all.
Thank you, Stan, brother. And to that, I must say, I want to have trouble getting rid of all of you.
Okay.
So everyone do like Stan and plan on sticking around, and really welcome home. I mean, welcome home. Seriously, welcome home. We need to do this together. Doing this each in our own little, no, that's old paradigm. So enough of that. Okay.
Just one more comment.
Yeah.
The nature of the statistics that is in the world. Okay, there's a certain number of people who are extremely well connected and extremely wealthy. There's a certain number of connections between those people. This age is not going to increase the number of connections between those people. They already know each other. The rest of us, the connections, the number of connections among us is going to go whee, like here, where we have a couple hundred people that are getting to know each other. And then there's another community somewhere else, a couple hundred people are getting to know each other. John's with his sign communities, and there's a bunch of those. This is going to be happening faster and faster and faster. And my concern is I can't keep up with it. I can't write it all down. I can't. Well, that's too bad. Can't worry about that. I can only do so much. And
I'll help.
Yes, Julie helps. Oh, Julie's fabulous. Thank you.
And I've got another piece of good news for you, Stan, which is that it's not about you. It's about all of us. And together, right? The Chinese saying, many hands make heavy work light, right? African saying, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, bring the whole village with you. Awesome stuff. Oh my goodness. What an honor and a blessing to be with you all. I'd just like to do a 15-second infomercial before I pass it off to Michael, and then Charlie, and then Ben. My little mini infomercial is that exactly what you're talking about. This is what we need to create, Stan. Stan said we need to create this is that we can get everyone connected. That's exactly what this is, an early attempt at the press conference, because it's super efficient. Like, let's say next week, Guy and Pauline are busy, but Guy says, wait a second, I just identified another self-reinforcing feedback loop. Wait a second, Pauline, hold on. Boom, comes in. Hey, everybody, here's my 2-minute, brain dump, download, contribution, and it comes from Guy, a trusted source. We all know him. So our social networks light up. We push it out. Hey, everybody, did you hear the latest from Guy? This is the brain pulsating and, talking to each other. Anyway, that's the infomercial. Thanks for watching. And now it's up to...
Damon, can I just jump in? I just wanted to say something that came to me.
Please.
I just really want to thank everyone who stayed. All the First Nations gatherings that I went to, when they run into 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m., and everyone's exhausted, everybody stays until the last group has danced, until the last speaker has spoken, and the last group has sung. And I think that's something we really need to start practicing. If we're really going to support each other, after, because I've seen, I've been here pretty much all day, just, on and off camera, but I'm still listening. And I've noticed there are these waves coming and going. And I just want to put that out to all of us. Like, how can we encourage that we stay for the whole day in support of each other? Obviously, some people got to go. They have meetings, they have kids, grandma has to go to the doctors, whatever. But how can we as a culture, come to this place of really supporting each other and staying the whole way, which Jamin does. I mean, Jamin is still here, right? So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sweetheart. Any follow-up reactions, thoughts? Anyone?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll say
Antoinette.
something. You know, it's the same thing like how social media works. A lot of people sit there and tell me, they're like, you always have people like commenting or liking your page and they're always engaging and other stuff. And I said, the reason why is because I engage with other people. I like their posts. I comment on their posts. I interact. That's the way that Facebook algorithms work. The more that you interact with other people is the more attention that it brings to your actual cause. If you just come in and just hit and run, then that is not going to really bring people to your cause or to whatever you have going on. So in order for us, if we really want to work together as a collective, then we have to support each other. You know, it's like when I ask you guys to come and support me, I'll be there to come and support you. I will have your back. You need me to share something, you want me to talk about something, you want me to, you want to tag me, on my page or whatever, you're more than welcome to. I welcome these things, but if we don't support each other, then nobody else is going to hear about it and nobody else is going to see about it. So like, just don't just come and hit and run, but stick around and hear what other people have. If it's something that can work with you.
She was asking, how can we get people to stick around more?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Just understand that the benefits of sticking around is that when people get to know you and understand what your passions are, then they're more likely to support you. But if you just drop the bomb on them and then run away, then how are you going to sit there and follow up with them? Where's the follow-up? Where's the coordination? Where's the feeling and the empathy and things like that? So that's one of the things that I've noticed watching a lot of these Zooms as well too. So my 2 cents.
Beautiful, Antoinette. I think you're spot on. And because you know what? And this happens every time we get together and we hang together. I'm going to say like this, but with that, I need to put a little caveat. There's been nothing like this. What we're experiencing today, we've had nothing like this that I've experienced. I mean, this is like when you put it into 5th gear and there's nobody on I-5 at 4 a.m. and it's a straight shot. That's a bad analogy, but you get what I'm saying. I feel like we just put it into 5th, right? And, Ye's driving, he looks over at Guy, they kind of nod to each other, they light a plant-based cigarette and boom, it feels like we're making these connections, right? It's really all of us. We all have parts to play in this great system that we're putting together, which is integrated humanity. You've heard of integrated circuits, right? Look at integrated humanity. Look on the screen here. Imagine that each one of these is a little tiny lead that goes into a Kyocera encased integrated circuit made by Intel, right? Whoa. And you're saying every week you're adding in 100 more connections? That's right. Every week, another 100 conversations either get born or debuted publicly and then indexed, right? Thank you, Stan and Julie, our volunteer librarians. Anyway, I've talked too much. Michael's been very patient. Everyone has. Any other comments before we get back on the so-called 2-minute train? So much for 2 minutes.
I think
Leslie,
we've learned a lot. I just think we learned a lot from today. And I think that if we can, a lot about conversation, a lot about presenting conversation, a lot about staying in conversation. And I think I'm going to be quiet so Michael can speak. Sorry, Michael. I just want to say that I think having a moment to think about what we've learned when this is all sort of done is something that I would really like to be a part of. So if I go off screen, it doesn't mean I'm not here. It's just that I'm off screen.
Wow. Wow. Love it. Yeah, there's so much to digest. And so it's kind of like, do we keep eating or do we stop and digest? Anyway, I say we keep eating. The more I eat, the hungrier I get for this. How's everybody doing? Yeah, good, good, excellent. Michael Gaio, I just got to say a couple words. Take a look at thepressconference.org. Michael Gaio built that website. He put up, the sign up form, all this cool stuff. He makes it nice. I told him, man, I want, 1971 CIA typewriter font. Boom, there it is, right? So anyway, Michael's a real, true brother, true comrade. He's one of us. Antoinette, like what you're talking about, you need someone to have your back. There's Michael, right? And real deal. Anyway, with that, Michael, great to see you, brother. Please take it away.
Thanks, Jamin. Thanks so much. Hello, everyone. Hello from Mount Shasta, California. I just want to make a kind of an unrelated comment based, piggybacking on what was just talked about, the amount of connectivity that we're experiencing now and that we can expect. I think currently, something like 2 to 3 billion people on the planet have internet connection. And we can expect over the next maybe just 4 to 10 years that another 5 billion is going to come on really rapidly. So the connectivity is about to just go exponential. So yeah, my name is Michael Gaio. I'm an evolutionary entrepreneur, a transformative technologist, and a transmedia artist. I've been working for about 20 years, producing projects orientated around information technology, at the confluence of information technology and evolution of consciousness. And I'll paste my links in the comment there. If you want to connect, go see on my website, see what I'm about. You're welcome to do that with all those links. I'm also the founder of an organization called Mythic Systems, which is a transdisciplinary research and development organization orientated around, again, this confluence of information technology and consciousness. My question is, how can we use all these amazing technologies to catalyze not even just human consciousness, but just consciousness in general? That's my driving question in life. So today I want to just present to you as short as possible presentation on a project I've been planning and designing for several years now called Mythos, or the Mythic operating system. And I think I'll just screen share, Jamin. Can you give me screen? Do I have screen share ability?
I'll give it to you in 1 second.
Oh, looks like I have it.
Do you? Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Great. So Mythos is these three things. It's a map, it's a compass, and it's a path towards co-creating new meaning and navigating this time of crisis and opportunity. I think we're all here aware, but we need to be reminded sometimes of what a significant place story has had in our story for millennia. Humanity has been telling stories to each other and making myths and making various structures of meaning for millennia in order to help us navigate and orient in a very complex and sometimes challenging world. So I see that, we're certainly in that time now. Humanity needs new meaning, new sense making, something like a new story or a new narrative, new perspective, something like a new way of orientating. Now, this is an answer to a problem that I have in the philosophy of mythic systems is that I see that the emergence of all these global crises, ecological, sociological, economic, we do need solutions to all of those, but they're all rooted in a more fundamental existential crisis of psychology, perspective, and meaning. I've heard several other people here today say this too, that the real solution is inward. And I believe this too. I think that our science and our design systems are required in order to solve these extrinsic problems, but I don't see that they're going to last. That we might create all that, but it's just going to crumble again until we also come to terms with the crisis in our psychology. So resolving this crisis in meaning in psychology is a meta solution to the other problems as well. So that's part of my focus in the work I'm doing. Now, we've done this before. We look at the Italian Renaissance about 500 years ago. As certain people like Copernicus and Da Vinci, Copernicus offered us a new way to orient to our universe, where we first thought we were the center of the universe, and now we understand that the sun's the center of the universe. So these things happen now and then. Humanity goes through new paradigm shifts in perspective. And the Renaissance itself, one of the driving significant emergent elements of the Renaissance was when someone invented this way of drawing 3D perspective, which revolutionized art. But it also had an influence in revolutionizing almost every other sector of society at that time, including the way we understood who we were as human beings, our philosophy, our economics, every other sector of society. And so it appears that we might be on the verge of a new Renaissance, with these new advents like sustainable energy technologies, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, blockchain, automation. These certainly have problems in themselves, but they also offer the opportunities for creating an entirely new perspective of who we are and what we are as humanity. But we have to navigate that complexity. How do we find a new meaning in that? How do we come to a new awareness of who, what, and why we are as a planetary collective? So this is the aim of Mythos. This is just one way. A lot of people are working on things like this, but again, there's three fundamental aspects to the Mythos platform. The first aspect is the mapping of it, the mapping and making new meaning, and that's mostly through creating a lot of new content, videos and books and diagrams, just making new models for what it could look like to be in this new world. And then Mythos is also a social network game that bridges online and offline activity around participating in co-creating this new meaning. And that's the compass. And then Mythos, the Mythic Path program, is an educational program designed to help people come into greater alignment of who they are and claiming their deeper purpose and meaning in their own lives as individuals. Because as individuals, as we come together with more meaning and purpose, we can co-create a more purpose-driven and meaningful collective. And that's the path. So we have map, compass, and path. So going backwards, the Mythic Path program is a call to adventure. It's an evolutionary education program designed to help people discover and align with meaningful purpose, clarify vision, and execute a strategy to actualize personal and collective legacy. And this is already in development. As you see that image there on the left, it's designed to be a very game-like, fun activity to overcome some of our greatest challenges in realizing our higher selves. And on the right, this is a picture of these mythic tokens I have, and these scrolls of destiny that are issued to people who graduate from the program, which then gives them access to a whole network, an online network game, so they continue the journey for the rest of their lives together, all of us. So Mythos, the operating system, is a social game platform for discovering, gathering, shaping, and sharing personal stories of transformation and co-creating a collective vision of our future. And then this graphic kind of goes into some of the techie stuff, which I won't go into now, but in other presentations, I go into great detail about the information architecture that's using some of the most innovative and cutting edge network technologies that are emerging in the world right now that are going to offer us new ways of doing social networking together. And I put this little graphic over here to remind me, after I heard Melissa speaking about astrology earlier, I was so excited to hear you talking about that, Melissa, because that's also a key component here. I think that astrology, or better yet said, the term archetypal cosmology, which is a topic I studied in graduate school, is a major bridge to this new meaningful world we're entering into, of bridging our outside cosmology with our interior psychology. Can be found in using systems like astrology and other archetypal systems that's also embedded in this social network game. And then, co-creating the map. I'll be beginning to release what I call Mythos reality casts as videos next year, exploring many of these topics around emerging technologies and emerging trends in culture and humanity in communications. But then related to that will be this open house beginning in 2021. I think I'm going to put it off till January, every third Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. So that's it. Please come and join me in exploring the mythos.
Beautiful, Michael. Oh my goodness. Super cool. And we've had a number of different kind of gaming related reality changing games, reality games, Togetherland, and all these different examples. So when you go to Snack Bar, go to the gaming section. You're going to find some really cool stuff to snack on and some really awesome open houses to click on and add to your calendar. And boom, next thing you know, you're talking with Michael Gallo.
Can I jump in a second? Because
Yep,
some idea just came to me, Michael, that because there's so many parallels, like I've heard other speakers and I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's like really resonating with me, and you and I have this parallel too, and this really deep, profound interest in with myth. And I'm just thinking how our houses could join, like maybe your house and your collective could come to our house and play with us for a while, and then we could come over and play with you for a while, and we could go see you, Antoinette, and then you, Jimena, and then so our houses, we can have house parties. Just putting that out there.
Great idea.
Oh yeah, and related to that, we actually do field trips. Kate and I, and other folks here, Christopher, Marco, James, we've done field trips where we'll go, like a bunch of us will go and just plop into somebody else's Zoom room for a change, and it's like, hi, whoa, it's like, where all these people come from? And we call that a field trip. Anyway, and so there's lots of different ways that we're going to be able to just forge all these new connections. We're creating the connective tissue between neurons that used to be just playing violin in the closet, right? We now need to create the connective tissue amongst us all. That's what we're doing right here. Look at the connective tissue forming. Look at all the great connections you're making just in one day, deep connections. It's like we're all on some weird psychedelic camping trip together that you'll never forget. And I'll never forget the time that Stan put his finger in my Mountain Dew and, whatever, right? So anyway, I'm just totally loving this, as I trust you are too. So anyway, any questions or comments before we proceed with the next up is Charlie, followed by Ben. I'm not seeing anyone's hands shoot up, so take it away, Charlie, whenever's good for you.
Thanks, Jamin, and hello to everyone. So nice to see so many familiar faces. Apologize, I haven't been here in a while. I'll try to pop in where I can, but what we kind of said about sticking it out, I have to do, I kind of heard that. I'm like, yeah, I have to do a better job of that. So apologize. I had to pop in and out, but I'm trying to be a little more dedicated. So appreciate it. It's a good awareness, and there's been so many great presentations today. Michael's such a great one to follow up on. The gamifying is just so huge, right? So that's so cool, and it kind of somewhat weaves into what I'm talking about a little bit today. But again, thanks to Jamin, thanks to Chris, to Marco, to Michael, to James, everyone who stays these long hours of the night and keeps us going. So I certainly appreciate that. I am the benefactor and have been since August or July when I popped in. So it's so cool. Yeah, so many great presentations today. So for people who don't know me, I hail from Philadelphia on the East Coast in the United States. Stan, I heard you were from Philly earlier, so definitely have to catch up. So many connections there. So I will say my presentation is probably going to be the most simple and, and mundane. I have a script, but I'll probably just go off the top of my head. It really, the group would be about creating change, right? So when this was originally framed, we talked about creating change for a couple different constructs that Jamin mentioned. And I think mine kind of falls into ones that can help, a construct that can help with those other areas, right? So it's about personal change. It's based roughly off a book that is in publishing right now that I wrote, and it's been extremely therapeutic for me. It's called The Process. That's why it definitely is very true to my heart, right? It's helped me through some very, very challenging times. And it's also been something that's helped me achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve. So this is, again, roughly based on my book. Plan to meet twice a month. I think it's on Thursdays, but I don't know the exact time. I apologize. I have to follow up with that. And it's following some true and tried principles that come from my background as an organizational psychologist. Also, I hate to talk about certifications, but just certified in NLP for people who know what that is. And there's a lot of different modalities we'll use. Good deal of journaling, good deal of congruency and alignment with goals to make with values, and to make sure your goals are ecological, to make sure that they help you, they help the planet, they help others. So I don't have this great framework, right? And there's so many great ones, but I think this will help many people in achieving some greatness, right? So kind of helping the helpers. That's kind of the framework I put it into. That's kind of where that's really where it is. Oh, one last thing. So no one will, I'll provide all the materials, right? So I'll send out PDFs on the chapters on the book, probably go through a chapter or two, a meeting, or just a section, I'll say. Sometimes we can't get through one chapter. Sometimes we'll go through multiple chapters, but definitely anyone who's looking to make a positive change that's ecological, I welcome you to join me. Moving away from a problem, even if you don't know what you want, this will help provide some clarity and insight in there. So look forward to getting to know each of you better. Thank you.
Beautiful, Charlie. Super cool. Oh my goodness. I just love all the different facets to this hyper object, because some of them are simple and others are, connective, and others are whatever. All righty. Well, Ben is next in the queue, and I just want to let everyone know there's no one currently in the queue after Ben. So if you want to get in the queue, either wave your arms now or plan on waving your arms after Ben speaks. Sometimes I even wave my arms while Ben is speaking. Ben is in Australia. So, all righty, Ben, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Good that there's nobody with an urgent need to speak, because that may give me a bit more time. I actually, because I prepared for 2 minutes, I had nothing to say that would fit in that time. But so I'll do the minimum that I prepared and see how far we can go on. First of all, of course, and I always like to work both with visuals and talk, because that's my name, and I'm basically I like to call myself a communicator. And the thing is about communication, I studied communication, actually also studied got degrees in psychology as well. And the main problem with communication is that a lot of people do not communicate. So what they're doing, they're thinking aloud. They're just thinking what's on their mind, and they're telling people that. But for communication, you need some kind of interaction, and that's often lacking. So this, and that's why I want to congratulate you, Jamin, for putting this together. This is actually the foundation to get that interaction that is so lacking. And we should constantly ask ourselves, how can we keep it interactive rather than that someone is just a talking head like I'm now? I may have an interesting point, but if people just say, yeah, that's interesting, and nothing happens, then it's still a waste of effort. And it may be nice, it may be entertaining, but the big problem here is that there is some urgency, and that's why I say I keep on putting the question in front of people, literally like I'm doing now. So to be able to focus on something, and here's the magic word, focus. So if we jointly focus on something and then get input from various sides from people and can jointly digest it, talk it over, see where someone is missing something, that's what helps us all to come further. So that's all I'm trying to do. So again, I'm not someone who has some magic wisdom and say, here it is. No, I'm a communicator. I like to facilitate that communication. And one way of doing it is really this excellent method as you've set up, Jamin. And I also like the idea of to have separate groups where people talk out a specific topic in depth, go into all the scientific papers that are available on the topic, and then come back and say, well, this is our conclusion. And that conclusion may be different from another group who has also looked at all the papers. And if those conclusions differ, then we should have another look at why, how is that possible that they differ? So and then we say again, we put up the main question, because let us not go and divert into the technicalities of some things or the political issues. There's economic issues. There's so many sensitive issues. There's religion. You can divert into anything you like, but I just keep on putting the sign up and say, hey, let's keep focus. So that's why I'm having this group. And I, for now, say this is probably the best time. So it's now a bit later, but it's around this time in the Pacific time. And it's now actually, it's 1:45 here in Australia, so just afternoon. And it's actually after midnight in Europe. So it's always a problem to be able to get everyone together. But that's why what you're doing is great, Jamie, because you allow people to come in, have their little say, bring it into the conversation, and then people can come back to it by finding it on YouTube or finding it just on a page where there is a summary of some of the findings. So the best way I think we can get it going in my little group is if people just send an email to my email address here. So it's pretty easy because it's my name, and then you put @gmail.com behind it. Yeah, get straight. And there we go. So I'll give you one little taste of what I plan to do. So Dr. Ye Tao mentioned the book, and I actually got, or the article, there we go. This was the article he was showing pictures of, and it's the article by Jørgen Randers and Ulrich Gollicke, two people from Norway who actually put up a paper that said, and I'll just show you what it says, because this is pretty important. They say that even if all man-made greenhouse gas emissions stopped right now, the the permafrost would keep on, well, they should have said probably thawing, but they said melting. And what happened when they said that? Nobody actually listened to their very message, but everyone focused on that word melting. And they said, oh, this is not an expert, because experts would say permafrost is thawing and the sea ice is melting. So these guys are, and this literally happened. And mainstream scientists came on the news to tell us that this paper was seriously flawed because this guy or these people didn't know anything about it. And that was the very message that was sent out to people. And of course, there's a lot of people who have a vested interest in not being alarmist. And the funny thing is that this paper actually didn't contain anything new. They say the same things that that I had already read more than a decade ago. So, so let's get to something that is pretty new, if I still got another minute. So this is a paper that just came out, and I'll just show it to you that it's on record. That's the title. It's, again, it's, if you listen to it, most people will not be able to understand what it is, but it says solar geoengineering may not prevent strong warming from direct effects of carbon dioxide on stratocumulus cloud cover. And that's by the lead scientist is Tapio Schneider of NASA. Well, he actually works for Caltech, but he uses the computer structure of that is both used by NASA and Caltech, and that is so huge. So he can quite frankly say, if anyone else can do a better simulation than I have done, you go ahead and say what you feel your mind, because no one can do that. And the conclusions are quite important, actually, because what he is saying, that even, which is very similar to what the Norwegian study said, that even if we do geoengineering and manage to get temperature a couple of degrees down, he actually worked on 3 degrees of cooling. And he said, even that won't save humanity or life at large. Well, he didn't say that directly, but that's what I'm saying. Because as long as carbon dioxide is still in the air, in the concentration that it is now, it will actually break down the lower cloud cover of Earth. And in an earlier paper, he had actually worked out that that made a difference of 8 degrees Celsius in cooling. So the cloud cooling, because of, well, the albedo effect is one, that the clouds actually reflect some of the sunlight, but also they do other things. But if those clouds disappeared, we have an extra 8 degrees warming suddenly. So even if we manage to get 3 degrees cooling from geoengineering, which would be quite an effort, and it's not even sure whether that's possible, then in the long run, we are going to lose the clouds, which will drive temperatures up. Then we get water vapor, more water vapor in the air, which is another greenhouse gas that speeds up warming even further. So we're going into the what they call the Venus type of conditions, where there is no water left on Earth. It all evaporates and escapes into space. So it breaks up at higher altitudes into oxygen and hydrogen, and those are simply leaving Earth, and we are left without water, which is one of the essential elements of life. So there is not only some vague risk, there are actually indications that this is the path that things will eventuate along. And so I'll go back because it's going to take too long now. But so I'm getting back to my question: can we save life on Earth? And not only can we do it, if there are possibilities to try and do what we can, what are the paths that we should follow? And let's look at some of the things that we can do. And actually, we haven't got very much time left to spend on things, and that's why I want to just mention one last paper because it's an important one, and this is the paper by Natalia Shikova and her husband Igor Semiletov and Evgeny Shuvelin, and they have been known to make what mainstream media calls alarmist calls, but they've been doing this for more than a decade. And this paper is actually a review of not only their own literature, but of everything they know about it. It was published a bit more than a year ago, and it actually said that the risk is so enormous that something should be done, and because as temperatures keep increasing, they especially speed up in the Arctic, and there is so much methane in the Arctic that could be released into the air. So as temperatures rise, that threat becomes bigger and bigger every minute, really. And so the previous papers that I mentioned actually looked at timelines where we go into the future, into 2200, 2300, 2500 even, and say, well, things will keep on rising temperatures. But a lot of that rise, or even all of that rise, could happen quite quickly if something like that happens in the Arctic. So there is a big urgency. So with that, I like to close. And so again, I'll tell people, if you like to discuss things, if you like to join in some of the meetings, just write me an email, and I'll tell you which room I'll be in. And I like to keep on coming to your meetings, Jamin. I'll try and keep it a bit shorter next time, really 2 minutes, but so if we can get that together, and even if it's just once every few weeks or so, and can give an update, I think everyone should do the same. So thanks for the opportunity, Jamin. Much success, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you, Ben. Wow, great stuff. Love it. Oh my goodness. I feel like a kid in a candy shop. And Asaki, welcome back. Feel free to say hello, chime in, tell us how it went in the breakout room. I know you were the superstar there, but no pressure. You probably, maybe you just came here to chill out. That's fine. And Daniel has his hand raised. Go for it. Yes, Daniel.
I remember hearing President Biden-elect say that he will listen to scientists, and that climate change is an existential threat. And I was really happy to hear that we could maybe even do some mirrors that would solve that one of many existential threats we have. So that made me relax. It also made me relax when I have some friends on here and I feel like I've made some more, and all these like exciting connections and ideas and so I just wanted to acknowledge, Jamin for putting this together, and people like Stan, and I don't want to name everybody, but you all know that there's big love here, and I feel a lot more optimistic about future. And I think that was like something really important to accomplish, and that there's people that are actually brilliant and fun and have come up with some creative solutions to bring um, consciousness and love and support our mother, and she'll support us. And I've always been a curious guy about why myself and other people's make stupid choices in their lives. And so I've had a lifelong desire to understand how we bring these pieces together inside of us and form a new relationship, and honor those pieces and have them start talking. And I've been a mindfulness person and a medical doctor, and something that's really helped me is when I became a shaman. I've been through a lot of counseling also, but the shamanism helped me learn that how to empower other people and to help them find the power within them to live in their deepest purpose. So this is, in helping people change in the world to their highest self has been my path, and I'd be willing and able to meet other people and talk about that. And I just like to honor everybody here. Thank you. It's a marvelous tribe and community. Let's keep it going. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, Daniel. Thank you so much. And
Can I say
Asaki,
something, James?
go ahead, Antoinette.
I just want to address Daniel because I just want to tell you it's not like two things. One, the sister here, Ashaki, she's the only Black woman other than me that I see here. So that's something we're gonna have to address as well too. But we'll get to that later.
Let's get to it now.
You want to get to it now?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get to it now, but I want to address you first because what you was talking about, and trust me, dude, I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. I understand all of that. I mean, we're talking about things that's we're so passionate about, people are passionate about climate, people are passionate about the water, people are passionate about hunger, nuclear and things like that. And then for me, it's like, when I'm looking at all these things, I'm passionate about those things too. But right now I'm passionate about human lives. There's two things that we have not talked about, throughout the day is about, all those things compared to life, that is an important issue. But we haven't talked about women's rights. We haven't talked about human rights. We haven't talked about, the injustice of human lives, that are things that we can actually do as people. Same things with everything else, the food, the environment, and other things like that. Those kinds of things that aren't being addressed. So it's like everybody's issues are always going to be kind of different. But there is hope because, like you said, there is hope. And I said music is hope because for me, living in a world that's always been against us for everything, it's like we have to pick and choose our own battles at each time when it actually comes to us. But we never give up hope. I think as Black people, we've always been like, we've had to fight for every single little thing. But when we see a little glimmer of hope, we hold on to that little thing because my husband always says that mankind is in its infancy. Our stages of evolution is so basic and so primal, that we're really dealing with people that are crawling on their bellies We're not walking or skipping or running or doing any of those things. Those things will come in time. But in order for us to sit there and get them to sit there and see how we see, and how people sit there and tell us, they're always like, don't do this, don't do that. We should do this, we should do that. It's like, first, we have to get back to the basics of getting to know each other, getting to understand each other, and getting people on our side. And when you're building these relationships, because trust me, dude, I feel you. And it's always just about, we always sit there and say it's about the approach, of like, how do we welcome them into the same mission and making them understand as well, too. But it's going to take more than just the speaking, like how we're all speaking. Now it's actually going to take action where we actually get our, like Frederick Douglass says, we have to pray with our feet. We prayed about for the guidance, but now we have to pray with our feet. When we pray with our feet and we say we're in this together, and all the people coming here together, dude, I'm going to be marching right there with you to sit there, and we've got to change the way that we live. We have to change, but we have to really, on a grassroots level, change the hearts and minds of every single individual on the planet, one by one, on a grassroots level, heart to heart, personal, building personal relationships and everything, So if you need me, I'm here and I will help you, and then we'll just go out there on that essence as well, too. Now, back to the sisters, back to that. Again, as when we were coming into this before, and when I first time I met Jamin and me and Alexandra were there, it was COVID. Everybody was talking about COVID. Then the protests happened. Then the riots happened. We have not left this. We have not discussed this. There's 150 straight days of protesting that's been happening in Oregon, and 150 days that's still happening in Kentucky. People do not even realize what's going on. It's like, while we're discussing all the other things that are other solutions, we are losing people on the front lines. We're losing businesses. We're losing people. We're losing a lot of things because people are really losing their humanity because we're not discussing the issues of systematic racism. We're not discussing the issues of unconscious bias. We're not discussing the issues of prejudice. We're not discussing all of these things. And these discussions need to come to the forefront and come to the table. Just like you said with Biden, it's like he's acknowledging, I don't buy none of that. We delivered that vote for Biden because we couldn't stand Trump. I don't want to bash Trump or anything, but it's like we delivered that vote. But it's not like we don't know that he's just going to all of a sudden change and all of a sudden be like into climate, into Black lives, into Medicare, into, all these different issues and stuff, because they don't just change overnight. These are things that, like I said, we're going to have to go back to the basics, heart to heart, dealing with people one on one on an individual basis. Our work is cut out for us. This is going to be lifelong work. Everything that everybody's doing here is going to be lifelong work until the day we die. And then we still got to have our children and our grandchildren continuing on with this work. But we have to encourage them and lift them up and let them know that every seed that they plant, every tree that they plant, everything that they do, every direction that we move in is in the right direction, because the fruits of our labor will be seen later down the line.
If I can table on to exactly what Antoinette just said, being the other person of color in the room, but also a holistic practitioner, and I think this is really important. And I've been saying this to my own community because I have an online community, and then I know folks, lots of communities here locally in Atlanta. We are going to get called on the carpet to handle this first. As conscious creators, as people who are part of the consciousness community, I guarantee you, everyone is going to look at us and go, okay, racism solved, huh? How? Tell me how. They're going to look at us. Why? Because this is our era. The X-Men, Professor Xavier, when he goes, he tells you, puts on the suit. This is it. This is our moment, folks. Boot up. They're going to ask us first. The 99% of the population that has no idea what's actually happening right now, they need the leadership. Believe it or not, even if you don't feel like a leader, if you are at all consciously co-creating or a part of the conscious community, you're already way ahead of the curve. We have to lead everyone. I had a really smart Aquarian friend say to me about 5 or 7 years ago, she said something we don't understand. She says, we are all ascending. She says, but not unlike the story of Moses. Guess what? Whoever's at the back of the line, we got to make sure they catch up too. Otherwise, we're not being that conscious. And because this is what we promote and tell the rest of the world, Antoinette could not hit the nail harder on the head. We are going to be called out on where is our consciousness when it comes to the indigenous people in the land of this planet. And that's from an environmental standpoint and a stealing of the land plant standpoint. Where are we in the treatment of indigenous people on this planet? We know what's happened. What are we actually doing to call it out and reverse it? I couldn't agree more with the Joe Biden factor. Yay, Joe Biden won. Okay, we've done this 1,000 times before, folks. I'm only 45. I've done it enough to know. Okay, right. You'll have to forgive me if I'm just not overwhelmed with excitement. There's more to this story. And because I'm a professional psychic, I'm telling you straight up, there's way more to this story. And I say all of that to just give you all this heads up in advance. We, all of us, are going to be asked, what are we doing to lead to really systematically eradicate these? Because we're up. We are the ones who have to lead this call. There is no one else. I would love to give you a more cheery version of that, but there really isn't, because we're the ones who are conscious. It's our job. It is our job. And I'm going to say one last thing about that, because I've psychically seen this is the era, and this is kind of the direction that we're going in anyway. You want the voices of Black women in these conversations as often as humanly possible, not just because we're Black girl magic and fabulous. We are, but besides that, not because of Michelle Obama, she's great. Beyond that, because the indigenous mothers of this earth have to be heard in order for us to really make a difference. I can't stress that point enough. And I don't say that just because I'm a Black woman. I say that because I've come to a very keen understanding of we are really centralized in where things get better. When we show up to the fight, that's when things start moving. Civil rights is a very good example. This is the way we're going to make transformation happen all over the planet. So again, I just said, we're up first. So just know that in advance, we are up first. Everyone is going to be looking to us to answer these questions, whether you are Black, white, or anything else in between. They're going to be asking us, well, how do you guys address this? And obviously the answer is love, but we have to have more answers than that. It's deeper than that. It has more to it than that. And we have to be willing to peel those layers, even when it's uncomfortable. I'm always uncomfortable. So who cares? Whatever. We get over that. You know, we're good at that now. We're good at that. We can handle that. That's my spiel, folks. I just want to toss it in there because Antoinette could not have brought up a more important topic. It's one I've been bringing up everywhere. We're up first.
I just
can't bring my,
sorry.
I need to say this. I'm sorry. I can't bring my Black friends into this conversation if there are no Black people here. I'd be embarrassed to tell them this is wonderful. This is what wonderful. It's not for me. Well, I need to have more support for that.
Yes.
And I mean,
Okay.
And what you need to do is you need to bring your Black friends in here and let us hear their stories. This is the thing, because a lot of times people sit there, you know, and I hear a lot of white people tell us like, this is what you should do. This is how you should do it. And this is how you should feel. And this is how whatever. And it's like, wait a second. When are you going to listen to us? When will you listen to how we feel, how we want to do it, how we want to go about doing it, and what we should do? And maybe you guys listen to us. So the ones who are and I hear my brothers and my sisters, they're mad, they're bitter, they're angry. They don't like these kumbaya Zooms and things like that, you know, because it's irritating and frustrating to them.
Because they think we're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Exactly. My friend,
platform. If you give them the platform where we sit down and listen to them, then they will sit there and say, you know, maybe things
but I had to know that you're here first.
Right. I get it.
But you know, we have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't invite our friends, then they can't know either. And I love what you ladies are saying. The other thing that I'm experiencing is that with your voices comes power comes wisdom, ancient wisdom that has been silenced for way too long. And same with the indigenous First Nations people. There's so much earth wisdom there. I work with a Haida carver for 14 years. So I'm adopted into the Haida tribe. And for 7 years, I'm telling my white brothers and sisters this because you other ladies know about this. People would not talk to me or speak to me or hug me or acknowledge me. And I took it. I was there for 7 years taking it because I know what's gone on here. But I always went to the gatherings. I always hugged everybody. I was present and I waited patiently. And it took 7 years. And finally, they could understand that they could trust me. So we have to build trust with all our other brothers and sisters. And that's going to take opening up our platforms and us taking a step back and being witnesses. Amen to that, and listening. And so thank you, ladies, for being, you goddesses, for being here. Please come back. Please share your voices with us. We need you because we are in so much shit right now. Mother Earth needs all of us, and we need you to lead us. That divine feminine wisdom, ancient wisdom. Hawa, Ganeshi's. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a beautiful group, by the way. I've only had the chance to experience it twice, and I am in awe every time. I can feel the enlightenment in the room. So I'm just glad to be in a room full of like minds, and I love where these conversations are going. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can I say something just briefly? I want to thank Anita and Asaki so much. I feel like
Antoinette, you mean?
Antoinette, sorry. It's late. My brain is fried. I want to express that we as white people aren't asking our Black brothers and sisters to do something to save our white asses out of this situation. I just want you to know that. We are here to work with you, to support you, to be behind you 1,000%, like we have not been before. And that's what I want to say. That's it.
I feel it. I feel it so much more now that allies are now wanting to become accomplices. You know, it's like, I'm an ally, I feel your pain and I don't like it, but accomplice is a ride or die homie. We going down together.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think that it's really important for us to listen and to be quiet, ask questions and listen. And we don't do that very well.
Yeah, and I also want to say it's going to take courage because I will stand up and fight. You know, I will fight for a raccoon's life. I will fight for your sisters' lives. I have courage now. I'm not afraid to stand up and speak the truth. And I think a lot of us don't have courage. So we have to come into our power and have courage to stand up for the truth and speak it out. That's the only way we can educate people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I saw
Beautiful.
Rebecca raised her hand.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you for speaking up for women and Black women and all people. One of the things, gosh, there's so much going through my mind. One of the things is it's really hard to talk to someone about something. Like you said, we need to listen first, because if they have family in jail, if there are people who are working to get food to people, if there are people trying to get away from the fires in California or the Amazon or Australia, wherever, Russia and Africa, then it's really hard to talk about big conceptual things. And yet, and I have tried to do that sometimes, at least one time in particular that I remember kind of being, say, hey, read the room, we're not interested. And so, you know, I had to kind of think, okay, well, what are they interested in? What am I interested in? And well, I'm interested in stopping the fires because I do know it has a personal impact, you know, a day-to-day impact. I'm interested in people having food. They should not have to be worried about food when there is so much food available. And so for me, it keeps coming back to the food. And so that's why I went ahead with the immune boosters, which Joya talked about earlier. It is a way to provide food free to people. And of course, the food healers are thinking, the more food, if it's there for anybody, then they can spend their money and time on other things that are important. And as Meldon Taylor said, until we get our economic system where we're egalitarian, he doesn't believe we'll be able to solve the racism. He doesn't believe we'll be able to solve that unequalness, because some of us, me and some people, most of the people that I know, are comfortable in their homes and deciding, do I want to spend 15 minutes looking at anything scientific or of interest outside of my own personal, um, family, garden, yard, my local community service. So I'm just saying that that's the way I have found, in part, to satisfy that need of getting food to people. And I hope it expands. And Dr. Rao has a plan for expanding it bigger to people so that we could, make it bigger. But it is really hard sometimes to balance that conceptual thing that needs to be done. And in my opinion, what I've looked at, and I know people know more than me, but I believe it, that if we don't do something soon, we won't have any wildlife left in 6 years. So then where will we be? So we have to start. So food to me is it. We can free up 40% of the land. And then I started thinking, I want people to have their land back. It's ridiculous for us to not make reparations to people when so many people have suffered. If we can give back, if we can stop, okay, here's where I go to the vegan part, but if we can stop killing the animals, then we free up habitats. We free up land. We can free up 40% of the land, and then we can give it back to indigenous people. We can give land to people. They can grow their own food. They don't have to have government intervention. It's a way to stop that whole colonialism of taking over, exploiting people and food, people and animals and land and water and air. Okay,
Mhm.
I've said my piece.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Rebecca. And you bring up some very good points. And the thing is, like I was saying, what's it? Asaki?
Asaki, you said it right.
Asaki. Okay, that's very Japanese, Anyway, but when like I was saying before, for the longest time, we've always been supporters of these issues.
Yes.
Food, land, this, and that. We never pushed our own issues because nobody ever wanted to hear them or listen to them. They had to wait until the buildings were burning to the ground before they said, oh, you have something to say? But in the meantime, we joined on the bandwagon for the LGBTQ, for animal life, for protection of this or whatever. We've always been there in support no matter what. When it comes to like the land, I've been out to the reservations, as we're touring as musicians. The reason why those lands, like the pipelines, are not going through white neighborhoods is because they know they can do this in indigenous lands. They've always kept moving them from here to there, to there, to there. It's like, how do I even know this history? People don't even know my own history, but I even understand the history of the indigenous peoples because I know they kept moving them from the good land to the good land to the good land until they put them out in the middle of nowhere. And then they go over there and they dump waste, they dump garbage, they sit there and run the pipelines through their lands and through their territories. And nobody says a word. Nobody says a word. Nobody says anything and nobody does anything. And that's why with Arizona even changing the state is because they finally came out there and decided wait. Because I was in Arizona, I was like, wait a second, there's more of us than there is of them. There's way more Latino, there's way more Native Americans, Navajo, Hopi, all of them. If everybody came together and sat there and said, stop the madness, then they couldn't do that. They steal water from their lands. With the fires, I happen to live in a very predominantly white neighborhood and the fires were all around us. But you notice what happens when it comes to poor people based on money? Paradise, that whole town disappeared completely, completely gone. The holy fires here where I was, and we were supposed to evacuate, we lost one house. And it was so huge, tens and tens and tens of thousand acres. It all depends on where you live. If I live in a white neighborhood where they got money coming into those areas, you know, and that type of classism and colorism as well too, they will protect certain people in certain ways. So the food is there, the different resources are there. The problem is there's unequal distribution, there's no equality, and there's no equity, you know. And that's what people are failing to understand. It's like we can, but they have to understand, you have to think about the other people who are the most disproportionately disadvantaged, you know, put them into the mix as well too, as you're looking to humankind. That's why we say Black Lives Matter, and we have to sit there and say Black Lives Matter too, because everybody's sitting there thinking about all lives matter. We're thinking about the all of humanity, but they think of all of humanity, but they're still excluding Black and brown peoples. We're still cut out of the picture, even in all the good causes that are happening around the world. You know, it's like, go there first, fix it over there first. And then when you fix it there, then everybody is going to be able to get their fair share. And then, you know, there's going to be more truth, beauty, and goodness, you know? Yeah.
Can I piggyback on that really quick?
Please.
Again, I'm because you bring a lot of points up in my mind, and I'm glad that you say what you say. It's I I used to hear my grandmother say this actually, like when you fix problems in the Black community, you fix them everywhere.
Mhm.
It's a natural byproduct. If you fix problems on the Navajo or the Hopi reservation, you're gonna fix everybody else's problems because it, ironically, it's trickle up, not trickle down. We all know Reagan had it wrong anyway, but it's really, you know what I mean? When we build from that standpoint, everybody's okay. And what we're going to face instead, because we haven't included, and I sit comfortably behind a Mac computer in a gated community with mostly white folk myself. So make no mistake, I am keenly aware, especially during COVID, I've become keenly aware that even I am speaking from a point of privilege because I don't live in the projects in Chicago. I don't have to endure that while I figure out my wellness. Am I making sense? When we're talking about people who can't get to the basics, and Antoinette made a beautiful point about we are always in the mode of food, clothing, shelter, basics, because so many of us don't have it, folks. So many people just don't have, and in particular right now, for those of you who've lived through real recessions, remember real recessions, I'm not talking '08, go back further. I know some of you know what I'm talking about. We are tipping towards a serious recession and or depression. We all know, it doesn't matter whether Joe Biden hits the White House, because the bottom line is just shifting this economy back to forward motion, we're a big bus to move. That's going to take a lot of trillions of dollars. So before all of that happens, in this clusterfuck that we are in between, we have millions of people being evicted from homes, food lines, bread lines, people sitting in cars waiting for food. This is serious business, folks, and it's getting worse. It's not being televised nearly as much as it should be, because all we can talk about is COVID and who's president, which we'll be talking about for the next 2 centuries anyway. Wait for it. But in the meantime, we are literally ignoring half of our population that is in serious need. I won't get to student loans and all the other, there's so much economic stress facing so many people in the United States of America and Canada and other nations that are like, we're in serious trouble, folks. And Antoinette could not say that more clearly. It has to be a part of the conversation. Otherwise, we're not talking about humanity. We're talking about some of us. And we're talking about the ones of us with enough privilege, food, clothing, and shelter, that we don't have to concern ourselves with those basics. And now we can have the time to have these conversations, to sit and converse with one another and really figure out. We have to remember there's a whole diatribe of people who don't even get to participate in the conversation. They don't have internet. They may not have a phone. We're at that point, and there is a lot more of that than I think most of us are recognizing right now. And every minute that I'm speaking, that number is increasing, because that's really where we are in the economy. I hope that becomes a huge part of this conversation, because it's what I've always wanted to see in our conscious, holistic community. And it's the thing where I've been most frustrated, because I'm going, okay, I know that everybody sees what I see. Hell, we're psychics, for God's sakes. seriously, if I'm seeing it, surely everybody else in my community's got to be able to see it, because that's what we do. We see visions of the world all the time. So I'm thinking, surely we all see this. But I find if it makes people uncomfortable, we placate it, or we talk around it, or we talk above it. And that's what we do in the holistic community a lot. We talk beyond it. We talk about humanity, but we're not acknowledging the worst of us. And until we do that part, dare I say, and I don't mean this to take away from what we're doing, until we include everyone in the conversation, even if they're not in the room, we're not actually doing God's work yet. God's work includes all of us. Am I making sense?
Yes.
And I don't say that to just go on and on with fodder, but I know that I've been in this community for a good long time now, and locally and online. And I've seen how we kind of tip these conversations. Like, oh, we're getting somewhere, but we're not getting to the big there, the boom, the thing that's sticking out to all of us that makes us all uncomfortable. It does not make me comfortable that 25 to 40% of our children every day are at some risk for no food in their bellies, no food in their mouths. And these are kids who are expected to go to school and perform. That is very concerning to me. But I promise you, it's not a daily thought. Because I have the luxury of not having to think about it while I eat ordered food at $100 a pop for the entire family. It was a really expensive dinner. Nonetheless, I say all that to say, I'm simply speaking to my own luxury and my own ability, and I'm a Black woman. So, you know what I mean? I just say that to point out to all of us that a lot of the time we're going above, and we got to go in on this one. We have to go in on the poverty, on what's really facing everybody right now, because that is a huge part. It is so tied into the environmental conversation. I'm in awe of the things that I'm hearing in this room, because I don't think about environment nearly as much as I should. I think about consciousness all the time, but I don't think about environment in the same way. And as I listen to people talk, I go, there's a whole nother leaf that I need to pick up and make that a part of my daily consciousness, because there's always something we can be doing to push this needle forward. We just have to want to, and not feel like it's tearing us apart or wearing us out. I come from, and I only say this anecdotally just to kind of give a spin on our stories and our history. My parents, who are in the living room downstairs watching Rachel Maddow, guaranteed, they graduated from segregated high schools. My parents picked cotton as children. If people understood, and I heard the reparations word come up, if people understood the actual dollar value of the picking of the cotton and the tobacco, this is where these conversations really start. And the indigenous people of America and those of us who were brought here all lived this story. This was the literal building of this economy, this grand economy that gives us all the homes and the this and the that and whatever else. This is how we built this economy. And we have yet to tie that back to the people who literally did the physical work. Again, it's sitting in my living room. This is not that far removed from us, I promise. I know a lot of people who picked cotton in the South as kids. I say all of that to say, we have yet to turn around and say to them, A, it's child labor. Think about it for a minute. B, we're talking about backbreaking work in cotton fields that was really the fueling of what are now our biggest banks and our biggest conglomerates. And that's a true story. If you look it up, I promise. We get to like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and apparently New York City, Central Park. I forget sometimes how many of these stories have been told, but there is a reckoning that we are now at the pivotal point of, if we don't make right what is due to these individuals, we are never going to be, we have to atone in order to move forward as a nation. I don't know how we get there otherwise, because frankly, I can't imagine how we level this off any other way. If there's a better solution, I'm always willing to hear it. But I gotta tell you, I don't see it. I don't. And I've ruminated on this since I was about 14 years old. And I'm going, we have to fix this. This has to happen. We have to make amends. And it goes beyond the usual talk conversation, because this socioeconomic aspect has existed all along, and it is a direct result. Again, my parents picked cotton as kids. We got to deal with this one.
Nashif had to leave earlier, but he was presenting earlier, and I met him in one of these talks that we've had before. So a lot of people don't understand, so I give him a pass on leaving, because it's really hard to get internet in Africa. It's nearly impossible. Most Africans are dealing on WhatsApp, you know, because they do that kind of data. But to sit there and like do a Zoom, you know, that to do a Zoom, to be on Zoom, you know, for 15 minutes, let alone an hour or 2 hours or whatever, it's,
Right.
you know, even to have the connection, you have to like, you got to drive somewhere, you got to find a spot. You're definitely not going to get it like all set up in your home, like how we actually have it. When I heard his ideas, I was like, I've been there. I've been to Africa like 7 different times. I know exactly what's going on over there. That same imperialism and colonialism is still happening today. The Chinese have infiltrated, just like the same Western European colonials have taken over Africa. They send over plastic rice to Africa. His dream. So I'm speaking for Nashif, if in case people didn't miss it before, but I'm speaking for him. But in order to grow, because you can grow, Ethiopia is now one of the largest suppliers of food throughout the continent. Ethiopia, that used to be so dry and so barren. And we can, so whoever environmentalists who are here, you can change the soil, you can fertilize the soil, you can plant, you can change a lot of different things. I'm not a scientist, I don't know. I've only seen what I've seen, and I've seen the farms in Ethiopia that used to be a starving country is now feeding many countries out of Africa, but they're always buying their food from the Chinese because the Chinese have come and infiltrated. So the whole thing of whatever he's trying to do, which I was sitting there, I had the same vision and plan, because every time we go to Ghana, it's like, listen, we got to help them to be able to create their own food, you know, and they can create their own food and food resources by, you know, developing the land and working the land and growing the land. And there's so many people, not everybody's just looking for a handout. They're just looking for like, help us be able to become self-sustainable and help everybody else become self-sustainable as well too. You know, because that place, that continent is being ripped apart in so many directions by everybody who's got their hands in their pockets in it, you know. So I spoke for Nashif, so you can tell I was like, I got your back, bro. Oh, sorry, Jamin, I took over your thing.
Goodness, no. In fact, what's really interesting is you talk about, you know, how atonement. The first step that occurs to me and a lot of us is let's feed everybody right now. Imagine that right now, literally everybody was feeding, everyone was eating, and everyone gets 3 meals a day. So that's the point of food healers that Dr. Silas Rao was talking about earlier today. And 11 and a half hours from now, we kick off the weekly 24-hour block party right here on this same exact Zoom channel, same exact Zoom link. And the first 2 hours we spend are on food healers from 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific time. And it's all about feeding everybody without exception, systematically covering the world's people with food, plant-based food, immune boosting, healthy, full spectrum nutrition. We talk about it from 7 to 9 a.m. and we talk about it from 7 to 9 p.m. every Friday on the block party. Same link as here, right here. And Dr. Silas Rao and I are pretty much always there. Ray, wave your hand, Ray. Ray is most of the time there, and a lot of the folks here. And we're taking it very, very seriously. And the cool thing is we've figured out a way, I believe, that we can do this in a way that's self-sustaining and regenerative, even financially, so that once we get the ball rolling and people see that we're feeding so many people, entire populations, cities, towns. I live on an island. We're going to feed everyone on this island. I'm on the food regeneration and sustainability consortium on the island. They invited me because I'm part of Food Healers, so they love the idea. So we're going to feed everyone on this island. We're going to feed everyone in Arizona, and it's boom, boom, boom until everyone's fed everywhere. And anyway, we'd love for you to join us, Asaki, and everyone here. Please join us. It's because I think that's the first step to atonement. Feed everyone now. Okay, we've still got a big backlog, but at least people aren't dying of starvation. We got to stop the burning, stop the bleeding. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in. So you're right on, as far as I'm concerned, this is exactly what we need to talk about. And I thank you so much for raising it. I've long maintained that's the first thing we got to focus on, right? Just feed everyone. Yeah, that's first. And then we can go. Otherwise, we're a divided people from the get-go. And a divided people can't do anything united. And food first. Thanks.
Maybe Antoinette, you can give us lobbying course or classes on
Yeah.
the block party. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I was just typing it in here. So I just put this in here, but I was trying to do it really quickly. So apparently, I don't know if you guys know, but yesterday marks when they finally passed a resolution with a formal apology for the bombing of the residents in Philadelphia of the MOVE organization 35 years later. You know, now inside my WAMI group, the Walla Moms International group, you know, I saw this one lady, she was like, that's not enough. I was like, you have no idea how long it took just to even get that. You know, she lived through this and it took her this many years, but it's like, so we didn't really know that we actually had the voice and the power to learn to lobby. So this Black woman took it upon herself and said, I'm going to bring this bill to the floor and I'm going to have them pass this. She had to work tirelessly. Now imagine if we all sit there, and that's what I was telling the people in my first class, is like if we all band together, like I said, if we support each other, if you want to do the lobbying for the apology, you know, we still haven't gotten the apology for slavery, and we don't have the apology to the Native Americans here, even though they've done it in Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, all these other places. America is very slow for this. But the thing is, if everybody jumped on the bandwagon, just like you said, if we move house party to house party to house party, let's get beyond lobby party, lobby party, lobby party. This lobby bill party, we're all going to jump on this bandwagon and support them to sit there and get this bill and resolution passed. And then we move on to the next one and to the next one, because power comes in numbers and the voice of the people comes in numbers. So these women who have offered this, you know, they're giving up their time, their energy, and their space to teach us and handhold us to go through the steps one by one on how we can actually do this. So if you want to see change happen, we can do this change and we can do it together. But we all have to come in there and like, I'm signing up to do this. I'm showing up, not just, you know, we're showing up for Zoom, but we're showing up for the class because we're learning. When she tells you who's your, because I have my homework as far as like, who's your local legislators, step by step, I have to do like basic math, you know? So it's like, all right, this is step one. This is step one. This is what we're doing today. Everybody's got their homework. Next step. Now, what do? All of us joined in, combined together, we move in that direction. And so if we all support each other, then we help the indigenous, we help the environment, we help the human rights, we help the different things, but we're all in it together, helping each other. And for those who don't have the patience or the time to sit there, sit through the class and go through the things, then the ones who do can do that. And then the ones of us who do go down there, because I will go up on the floor, I'll be like, you give me your 2 minutes, you give me your 2 minutes, you give me your 2 minutes. And I will sit there and hold up the whole freaking half hour or hour and hold up this floor and make sure this is getting done. That's something you can do. You don't have to do anything, but if I sit there and say, I'm doing a call to action and I need you to sign up and give me your 2 minutes of time, you can do that. We can all do that for each other. You know, if every one of you, just like you said, we're giving everybody 2 minutes, then we sit there and say, we're working on this bill and this resolution. I'm taking it here. Would you mind signing up and giving me your 2 minutes of time? And I'll go and sit there and say what we got to say and get this done. You know, so that's Monday nights. And I put my Zoom link there. That's Mondays at 6. And we're starting right at the very beginning. And we're taking this through, you know.
I'm going to be there. Please, everybody, we all got to do exactly. Antoinette, I love what you're saying. We've all got to come together. How are we going to save this planet otherwise? How are we going to help Mother Earth? How are we going to help all the mothers and children, the humans, the non-human beings? We have to come together now. It's the only way we can do this.
Thank you. Because that was the only reason why I had to run away earlier today, because I was waiting for this meeting with this guy who's running back for the DNC and on the caucus as well too. But besides, he was the one who was pushing and fighting not only to get climate change on there, but also Black Lives Matter. I mean, he was fighting hard. I'm like, why don't anybody know about this young man? Why aren't we supporting him? How can we get him elected? He's fighting for us. He's going to do all the work for us. All we got to do is sit there and get him elected. If he needs us to show up, then we need to just show up for him, and he'll get it done, because he was fighting for us. He's like, we need to get this on the ballot. We need to get this on the bill. We need to put this on the resolution. There are people who are going to be the fighters, and then there's going to be the followers. But at least if the followers sit there and say, all right, fine, I'm with you. Do what you got to do, but I got your back, and I'll sit there and give you our support and everything. So I only had to run away for that a little bit and then come back. And then those that Oriana, whoever was there with the water, that was really beautiful too. And that was the reason Pato had to run away, because as the guy was in there, he's there's not much time that he has, but he's like, something, instead of staying here, he spent his life savings to get an Airbnb on the beach in Malibu, for his final days, and he had no idea or clue about the afterlife and stuff. And we were just kind of like giving him a quick synopsis and different things, but he felt so spiritually drawn to the water. I wish he could have heard what she was saying, because it was really beautiful, because like that connection, even that, it's like, even if you don't intellectually know about religion and spirituality, there's something that you automatically feel. And I think as women, we already know how powerful water is and how divine water actually is and stuff, so another reason why we need to protect the water and understand how the water works for every single human being on the planet,
There's a question in the chat, Antoinette, asking if it's 6 p.m. Pacific or Eastern time on Monday. Thank you.
It's 6 p.m. Pacific time on Mondays. Yes. I'm going to create the event thing tonight as well too. So join in that. And then that in there, I'm going to just keep putting all the resources, all the links, all the information that we need to know. And you'll always be able to go back to that event page, because it's on a weekly thing. We get started now. By the time January comes, we can sit there and help with the bills that are already there, because that's another thing we need to know. There's a lot of bills already on climate change, but we don't already know about. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to know who's behind it, who's supporting it, and who's against it. We need to know who the key players are. And then we throw our support behind however we need to throw our support, So if we need to be calling this person and putting pressure on that person and your local people, and I learned this too, is like when they come home from the state capitol and come home back home, they have to meet their constituents. That's when you hit them up. It's like, dude, you're home now. You better give me some of your time, because this is what we pay you to do. So you're going to give me your time. And then you get everybody in your community to give me your time. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jamin.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Antoinette. Like I said, this meeting wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. You really, I mean, and in so many ways, not just the connections, but I mean, the way that you so gently, just put it on the table and say, all right, hey, whoa, it's like, I just feel
I'm not
gentle. All right. Well, it's perfect. What you
David,
do is perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a question for you. Are you going to have like a bulletin board or a page where we can all go and see all these amazing people who've been here today? Like if we want to get in touch with Antoinette again or Rebecca or whomever, so we can figure out, where their emails are, when their sessions are, what's going on. Thank you.
I was actually going to suggest that to you, because I just took a look on your pressconference.org. That's the only thing that you're missing from the website. You need a directory. This is something that I'm putting on my WAMI directory, is that we put all the links. Everybody needs to send all your information into Jamin and to Melissa, your emails, your pages, your events, your whatchamacallit. And then when they create it on the website, that as all the people, as you have, because I see it on the website, you have all of the speakers. Underneath each speaker should have all of their information. This is a directory. This is something that we keep in our family reunion. And it's crazy because, like you said, your family was picking cotton. My family has been around. We've kept our family together from the end of slavery. And there's not that many families who's able to do this. We are in the thousands across the country. We have a directory. We are able to know and find each other anywhere in the country and say, we're family. Here's my number. Here's my address. Here's my email. Here's what we're doing. So everybody that you've gotten in touch with, everybody send your information to them, let them create the directory, you know, by organization or by name, by topic, by the thing. So that way people will be able to find you. And, you know, that way it's not lost into cyberspace and world, you know.
Go ahead, Stan.
The library for the community. Okay, we're trying to build that with other networks, and it's okay for there to be multiple libraries, but do you have the power? Do you have the clerical capacity? That's the important thing. I mean, you can't do that kind of work without having enough people to do it. And I mean, I'll be happy to help figure out how to organize it, but it's a task. It needs people, and they have to sit there and do the stuff. Okay, it just doesn't happen by itself. Well, it can if you have the proper formats. Now, Bruce, who works is developing databases, and maybe we need to look at how he's organized that and tie it in. Okay, we don't want to leave his work because he's collecting a lot of information too. So I need to look at his, and we're going to work together. But it shouldn't be all scattered around, and it also ought to be available from multiple places. So yeah.
It's actually not hard at all. There are different programs. I don't know where your cyber tech guys are or whatever, but there are like simple basic programs that once they sign into, like if you have your sign up thing into newsletter, it automatically puts them into like an Excel database. You know, there's one way. There's the other way. If they send them into Jamin and whatchamacallit, that they manually input the information into there, and you can do it that way. Then there's the third way. I always look at like all kinds of solutions. The third way is you do a shared Google Doc, you know, which is read only for everybody else, but for all the members, participants, you just go in there, add your name, add your email, add your links, add your whatchamacallit, and that's the one link. And this is something I learned from the lobbying thing too. It's like we're all working off of a shared document. And which is very cool how that actually works, is that whoever you talk to is like, oh, I talked to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, it's already there. Like, I mean, that's for the lobbying thing, but at least for the directory, there's 3 simple ways: cost efficient, and time-wise efficient. Doesn't take any time, money, or a lot of people. It can be done either instantly, zapped, or we all do this collectively. If you want to be in this directory, you go jump in this shared doc and you put your information in there, you know, and then nobody has to do anything. Just put in your information. If you want to be seen or heard, go in there, take 2 seconds and add it in there. Just like we all signed up for the, you know, the thing for the 2-minute thing, you can just do that. And then all that's there, and it's on the website, you know, because for them, all they have to do is just put in that code.
Want me to make that for you, Jamin?
Please do, Julie. Julie's on point for all of that, and we're just learning as we go. And but the whole point of what you're saying, Antoinette, and I forget who mentioned before you, that we need this, is the idea here. We're doing every presentation, we record, and we combine that with the sign up data on the sign up form, and then all that goes into snack bar. And on the snack bar menu, you have the different major topics, subtopics. You scroll down. Oh, I want to check out climate change. Who's talking about? Oh, SRM. Oh.
Where do we find the snack bar now? That I haven't seen it yet.
No, it hasn't been.
It
hasn't been built.
It hasn't been launched yet. It's one step at a time. This is just
okay. Well, that's what I'm talking about. It takes time. It takes people. You got to have somebody organizing stuff. Okay, so I'm looking for that. I wanted to ask you where does the information going? How's it structured? And yeah, so that's important stuff. And,
oh my goodness!
The Google Calendar is on its way.
Thank you, Julie. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, Julie and I and Deirdre and Michael were working on it, but we need help. As Stan says, we need help. And so the first step is, hey, let's get everyone together and start the press conference process. It's now a weekly thing. Today is literally the first press conference, and we'll do this every Thursday. And the very next day, it'll be a 24-hour block party. Tomorrow will be the 41st consecutive block party. 41st. Every Friday, Saturday, we do it for 24 hours. Haven't missed a week. And so we're gradually and the conversation is now 24/7. Come to this same link 24/7. We're here, right? And so we're building community. The first step is just get everyone together. You know, it's messy, it's ugly, you know, it's uncomfortable, you know, like Asaki said, you know, but we do it. The first step, get everyone together. All right, okay, all right. Now that we're together and we're figuring out how to hang together, how to stay together, all right, okay. Now let's start building some structures and some systems and some creative agreements, and let's deal with our messes like feeding everyone, right? So it's all one big holistic process. So here we are, and away we go. So everyone just keep showing up, and we'll do this together.
Okay.
Shannon, yes. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jamin. I just want to say how grateful I am for your doing it anyway. You know, this is an emergent time, and leaning into the times before us is what makes the lily pads appear underneath our feet. And what I want to say to you, Jamin, is that you are creating something that is desperately needed. This has been a part of the vision that I've had, and I didn't know how it was going to happen. And here you are doing what needs to be done, because it is coming through you. And that's what we are looking for, is other people who are having it coming through them. Mm-hmm. And Asaki, I have to go to you on this at this moment and tell you just how important I feel what you told me is. And I think you know. Yeah. Kate, I got to call on you too. You woman, you have been here since I awoke, since my life smashed, and I pulled myself up. The first person that I connected to, Kate, it was you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I know, we're just doing it, right? We're just doing it. And Julia, you're a jewel. You're a jewel. Antoinette, you keep doing it. Oh my God. Stan the magic man. Oh. And Franca, you keep in the background, but I know you. Yeah, you. Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I see that Leslie is behind her wall as well. And yet I know she's listening, and that's okay. And I'm going to go back behind my wall too, but I just had to acknowledge the beautiful stars that you are. Hey, Little Red Riding Hood. That was fun. It's been a big day for me, and so I'm gonna just go silent for a while as I get ready for bed, and just love you all up.
Love you, Shannon, as you get ready for bed and for tomorrow's block party. Woo! 24 hours starting at 7 a.m. Pacific. All right, Jimena has her hand up. Go for it, Jimena.
Hi, friends. I have another presentation, so I was wondering if you want to hear it.
I'm game. I'm also just totally loving where the conversation's been, but why don't we do it? So let's shift gears.
Okay, Marco is going to help me to share, but first I would give my introduction, and I am writing the word that I wanted to begin with. Okay, so Amaro is an Aboriginal word for the peoples of Australia to explain the ideal of humanity through the wisdom of their songs. Songs are made of words, harmonizing, rhythmic, and resounding musical words in our beings. There is a saying in the creation of the universe: without words, there is no chaos, no creation. As a linguist and translator, I understand it takes contributions to understand the world as a melting pot of idiosyncrasies, traditions, beliefs, and feelings. I was always said, study languages, they open doors, and discovered that they not only open doors, but thresholds, soul portals, multi-universes that include so many possibilities of programming your existence and your personality. If one person spoke all the languages and understood all the cultural nuances encoded in its length, thinking, this genius, this universal man is somewhere out there, gives us space to think that this is an utopia. No person can accomplish this on their own. If we work together, educating, encouraging, and inspiring, and helping each other not only on a personal level and spiritual, but with intelligence, connection, that will allow us for interdisciplinary and intellectual conversations in all languages, we'll start uniting out consciousnesses and beliefs and programming to fill gaps to modify our mindsets, and by that, our ways to coexist. We can, as a whole, learn to follow the secret pathways of the earth. We can work with her to manifest a human culture that enhances and expresses her divine wisdom and beauty. As Rumi said, let the beauty we are be what we do. There are 100 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Let's kiss our Mother Earth with every single act we do. Be respectful and sacred with it. My proposal is to have an encounter point named Barlingual. We are all piano mans in a bar for others when we need to be playing songs and feel everything is all right, and motivate and trigger joy in others. Bars are places where the best stories have taken place. People make fraternal relationships through friendship, businesses, gathering, alliances, marriages, revolutions, you name it. We are going to speak languages, one category by week. Example. Oh, Mark is asking me if he's going to share the picture, so wait a second, because I lost my speech. Okay, so here is my project began. My project is here, written. It was written in 2010. You can see the date. It was a project that I had since then, and I wrote like we were going to speak languages. Monday, those of North Africa and South Africa, Russian, Polak, Turk, or Arab. On Tuesdays, we were going to speak Japanese, Chinese, Korean, or another Tibetan or Asiatic languages. On Wednesday, we were going to speak Roman slangs, Portuguese, Romanian, Italian, or Spanish. On Thursday, we can speak French and German. On Fridays, we can speak English, everything about the Commonwealth, Aussie, Britain, New Zealand, Ireland, Canada, you name it. On Saturday, we can speak internationally. And the idea is to have a space here. You can share, Marco. Thank you. in which everyone will present with a traditional dish or dessert or contour a snack or a beverage. This is the real snack bar. We will play songs of the countries, show traditions, ways of dressing, pictures, presentations, and the most important projects for all the areas. To build a pool of the projects that have been taking place in other parts of the world to help us by sharing as scientific pools do. We will talk about saying, idiomatic expressions, mottos, poems, movies, art, dance, play games of the country, have workshops of making an art craft of the country or whatever is representative. We can listen together to music or we can see short documentaries. All the visual and auditive material. This is just having fun. For building a world without boundaries in sacred coexistence. Starting here in the conversation, let's have fun and become bilingual.
Oh my God. Thank you, Samina. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's kind of crazy that you actually brought that up because last year we was in Australia, and when we was in Australia, we were with the Unity Earth and the Convergence. We were doing something on with the Aborigines and just unifying people all over the world and stuff. And I'm going to share this with you because this is exactly what you're talking about. Exactly what you're talking about. And this is part of our spiritual studies that we do. So I'm going to share that with you. This is interesting.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're going to like this because I love every word that you said. And was a thing that really stuck in my mind when I was giving my talk. All right, here we go. Multiplication of international and interracial social contacts and fraternal association through travel, commerce, and competitive play. Development of a common language and the multiplication of multilinguists. The racial and national interchange of students, teachers, industrialists, and religious philosophers. And this was the thing, it's like everybody thinks that like we're gonna be in the Star Trek Federation of Planets, light and life, we're the United Earth Federation, but we can't get to the United Earth Federation until we actually have the multiplication of multilinguists. We're not understanding, we're not hearing each other. And that's where intellectual cross-fertilization. Brotherhood is impossible on a world whose inhabitants are so primitive that they fail to recognize the folly of unmitigated selfishness. There must occur an exchange of national and racial literature. Each race must become familiar with the thought of all races. Each nation must know the feelings of all nations. Ignorance breeds suspicion, and suspicion is incompatible with the essential attitude of sympathy and love. So I think that's super, super, super wonderful that, if we all learn another language, if we all dip and dive a little bit into, then we can finally become part of the Star Trek Federation of Planets. But let's get there first. Thank you. That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. And I just want to add that we also need to learn to speak the language of animals. And I know how to get really close to deer, and I'm going to, I'll unmute. It's, you flick your hand like a tail, like this. And you can talk with them by flicking the hand off your ass, excuse my language, but, and then you put your head down. I don't use my voice. I use my third eye to communicate with them. So I think, we have to keep reminding ourselves that we have to, yes, we got to take care of the humans. We also have to take care of all the non-human species and learn their languages too. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually how Melissa and I met. She was trying to communicate to a deer, and I thought she was trying to send me a message. So I came running, and here we are.
That's really cute. I love it.
Wow, what a wonderful, wonderful gathering. I mean, it's just, I have no words for it. And yet I have a lot of words for it. But I just love all the open sharing. And thank you all, my goodness, for being here. And you see, we've now formed, we're a family now, and we're not going anywhere. And we've each been kind of lost wandering through the desert, through the snow, through the wilderness, through whatever. And we finally got home. We're tired, we're wet, we're cold, we're hungry. But you know what? It sure is good to be home. So let's build a fire and stick around a while, shall we? Yes, Dan, go for it.
I just want to remind people that several of us, many of us, meet every day in the after chat after Humanity Rising. And we haven't really talked about it much, but this is us. I mean, and we formed this family amongst ourselves, starting the middle of July, when I invited whoever was in the chat. Whoever's in the chat, you can come to my Zoom room, we'll talk. 15 people showed up. And we've been meeting every day since then, every day, except for now we don't meet on Saturdays and Sundays because, phew, it's too much. So we have to do that again tomorrow, which means I need to eat something and then go to bed. So.
And then come to the block party tomorrow after you go to bed.
I actually spend about 6 hours tending to my part of the process. And now my wife's closing the door because I'm talking, and I keep her awake. We have the Humanity Rising, which for me it starts at 11 and that ends at 12:30, and then after that is the after chat, and that lasts another hour and a half. So that's what time over, and then from that I have to take the recordings from that and put it into my emails and send out every day. I send out an email that includes links to the Humanity Rising chat, the Humanity Rising video, the video from the after chat, and the chat from the after chat, and it's all in this thing that I create every day. And everybody's invited. So if you've not been to Humanity Rising, I forget what's happening tomorrow. Julie, do you remember what is happening tomorrow? Who else? Franca, were you there today? Today we had Daniel Ellsberg. It was an amazing, I almost cried. This man did such a thing. We were all fighting the Vietnamese War, and he figured it out. And I read about his activity at that point. He had his children helping him make the copies. He had 6,000 pages he needed to make multiple copies on a copy machine that doesn't have an auto feed. You had to put each page on one at a time, and he made copies of that so people could see what was going on in the government before the war started, before we got involved. Really, they started, and I don't know all the details. And then of course he's a big. Pardon me. Oh,
sorry.
So tomorrow, who's tomorrow? I know it was something interesting that I can't remember everything. We don't know yet. Okay. Anyway, come to Humanity Rising. See in the chat, I put the link for the after chat at the beginning, and I put it in again at the end, and then come to the after chat. And I was going to find it and put it in here, but I'm starting to feel that. Huh?
It's in there, Stan, right now.
What's in there?
It's in the chat. If you want to
Oh.
join us, it's about 9:30 Pacific time, right? Every day, Monday through Friday.
You mean Humanity Rising? It starts at an hour. Not a,
8 a.m.
8
Humanity
a.m.
Rising, it's 8
Yeah. Okay.
a.m. And then Stan and the chat people's after chat of Humanity Rising is about 9:30. Do I have that right? Pacific time, a.m.
Okay. Oh, there's my little note. Thank you. Yeah, I gotta go. I'm gonna fade out. I'll fall off my chair.
All right, Stan. Have
Thank
a
you.
great night.
Thank you,
Thanks so much.
Jamin. Remember when I was asking you, who you going? Where's your list? Who's going to show up for this? You did an amazing thing. Look at all these people. Unbelievable. There's almost 100 people showed up for this. It's beautiful. It's fabulous.
Thank you, Stan.
Yes.
More than 100 actually, Stan, because they've been flowing in and out all day.
More than 100. Okay. Well, I saw it was like 60 or 70 people at a time in the, yeah.
And even more for the online viewers. They stopped
Oh.
the feed a while ago, right before the Black women spoke.
I think they automatically stop it at 8 hours, the feed.
Oh, good. You got the recording. We'll put it
Yeah.
back up and everything. But
Oh, yeah.
yes, but there was people tuning in. We shared it with our ministry. I shared it on my Coexist. I shared it on my own page. So people been like tuning in on and off. I've been watching the live feed. So it was beautiful.
Nice.
And it's been a long day, but I don't know if I have my 2 minutes left in me, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely, Marco. You ready to go?
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, I didn't prepare anything. It's just better if I just do it. Yeah, I'm going to start a group that meets every second Tuesday of the month, 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here at the conversation.cc. So you don't have to anything hard to remember. And it's going to be about sustainable principles. We all know a lot of things about doing things in an unsustainable way, but a lot of us know things that are sustainable. They may not be a big thing in the grand scheme, but all the little things added up to our problems. So I think one way we're going to get things solved is to add up all the little things that we can do. If you can't do a lot, you can do a little. And we're just going to share those things, like anything from composting to methane digesters, anything you want to talk about that's sustainable. And I imagine it'll grow into probably more than one group as time goes on, but we need to start somewhere. So second Tuesday of the month, 7 p.m. here at theconversation.cc, sustainable principles and how we all need to develop them. Thanks.
Awesome, Marco. Great stuff, man. Thank you for doing that. All right. Yeah, see, we started today just doing boom, 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 2-minute presentation after 2-minute presentation. And now we're kind of doing about a 2-minute presentation an hour. And then we hang out in between. We're like the mechanics working on a car who end up drinking more beer than changing spark plugs. But anyway, it's all good.
I have something else I want to point out. I know a lot of people have met Jamin in the last few weeks or some in the last few months. And you're all saying how amazing this was tonight, and it's very amazing, but it didn't happen overnight either. Jamin started essentially towards this project 7 years ago and stuck with it. So
Yep. It's been quite a journey. In fact, I could even share a little blast from the past so that people can see a little kind of a somewhat dramatic. Here, let me.
Yeah, Jamin, you've had so many different projects along the way. Even since I've known you, it might be interesting to tell people about that journey that you've been on and all the different various manifestations of what you've been doing.
Yeah, well, I wanted to show a very colorful little piece of the press conference in 2013 that I co-organized with President Vicente Fox of Mexico in support of ending prohibition, ending the drug war, ending organized crime. And this changed the course of history. It forced the hand of the Obama administration, and it was a recognized international leader, President Vicente Fox of Mexico. So, and that was actually the inspiration for this press conference, because that was a press conference that changed the course of history about something that was super timely back then, 2013. Now it's about saving life on Earth, about redeeming all of humanity. And it's about atonement. And, first getting, what's the analogy? As a species, we need to get our internal game right before we can go out there and save the rainforest, save the whales, save the oceans, right? We're not together yet as a family. How the heck are we going to leave the house and do anything productive if we're fighting before we even leave the living room, right? So anyway, here, shall I screen share a little bit and share a little bit of this history, this blast from the past? I'll just show a few minutes of it because I think it's very instructive. So the context, it's early summer 2013, May 30th, in fact, and it had been 6 months since President Obama had been reelected. And at the same night that he got reelected, Washington and Colorado passed to legalize cannabis. 6 months later, we still didn't have any signal from Washington, D.C. Are they going to let us proceed, or are they going to shut us down? What's it going to be? So that's the context. So here goes. President Fox and I and a whole bunch of other folks leading a press conference. I'll just play a few minutes of this press conference. Enjoy.
Decided to lead a
Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Before I introduce our distinguished guests, I would like to begin with a quote from the late astrophysicist Carl Sagan. "The illegality of cannabis is outrageous, an impediment to full utilization of a plant which helps produce the serenity and insight, sensitivity and fellowship so desperately needed in this increasingly mad and dangerous world." Carl Sagan. But by making cannabis illegal, we have instead turned it into a tool for violence, exploited by criminals and organized crime, spanning many countries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a unique moment in history. The Berlin Wall of the prohibition of cannabis is weak, and it is crumbling as we speak. And just as happened in Berlin in 1989, the old guards who used to protect the wall of cannabis prohibition are laying down their weapons and walking away. What remains to be done is to safely and systematically dismantle the wall of prohibition and replace it with a system of laws, international agreements, regulations, and standards to ensure a prosperous and, above all else, safe cannabis industry. We are moving forward. The states of Washington and Colorado are leading the way. We have waited long enough for some sort of a green light from Washington, D.C., telling us that it is okay to proceed. In fact, the silence from our nation's capital has been deafening. We are moving forward with our plans to build a national and eventually international network of cannabis businesses spanning the production, processing, distribution, and retail of cannabis and cannabis-based products. Our network will span both the medical and the social use cannabis markets. As a first step in building this national network, as CEO of Diego Pellicer Incorporated, I am proud to announce that we have acquired the rights to the Northwest Patient Resource Center, headed by Mr. John Davis, who I will introduce shortly. We are also in the final stages of acquiring a smaller but equally professional chain of medical cannabis dispensaries in the great state of Colorado. With these acquisitions, along with other acquisitions in the works from California to Washington, we are creating the first national brand of retail cannabis. We have also created the first risk-mitigated investment vehicle for investing directly in this $100 billion industry, which is growing by the day. This is a crucial development which will enable us to expand our business model into new markets. Our expansion will be cautious and measured, as my colleague John Davis will discuss. Next, it is my pleasure and profound honor to introduce to you a man who has dedicated his life to transforming his country and our world into a more peaceful, loving, and prosperous planet. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the first freely elected president of Mexico, Señor Presidente.
Congratulations for that position. This state of Washington, has decided to lead a new path, a path to change the paradigm by legalizing medical and social use of cannabis. In Mexico, we welcome this initiative because the cost of the war, in the case of Mexico, is becoming unbearable. Too high for Mexico, Latin America, and the rest of the world. The impact in the economy, on income, on tourism investment, loss of talent, and above all, loss of hope, and 80,000 kids dead in the last 6 years. All this because our neighbor to the north represents such a gigantic consumer market. We must get out of this trap, and here is the opportunity. Now this group here is moving accordingly from words into plans, and from plans into action, and the action in the arena. To play the real game, this group must understand the need to make good, safe, and legal use of these new laws for the benefit of the people and the common good. I am here convinced of the need for change and the search for new avenues in this difficult and unresolved issue. I am here to witness a paradigmatic change. I have too many questions about the implementation of these new laws and regulations and how it will impact our countries and communities. This is an issue of strategic interest and concern around the world. This historic step today is to be observed and evaluated closely by all of us because it is a game changer. Fox.
And he then goes on to talk about his think tank, his nonprofit in Mexico, and the role they play. That was the beginning of a summer-long tour, international tour, that culminated in a 3-day symposium right in the heart of Mexico at the Presidential Library. And it was the #1 story in Mexico for 2 days straight. #1 story in the entire country. And when we kicked it off with the opening press conference, President Fox whispered in my ear, I'll never forget, there's just all these cameras and everything just everywhere, international, because we had multiple continents there. It was like the big drug summit right in the heart of the drug war, the biggest drug war on earth in Mexico, where we were proclaiming we're going to make drug cartels obsolete, right? Drive them to extinction as a species. And President Fox said, Jamin, I have never seen so many cameras inside the Presidential Library ever. This is a man who was president for 6 years. So when, how is it you say it, Melissa? When an idea whose time has come meets with success unknown in common hours or something like that. That's where we're at now. That's where we were back then in 2013. And by the way, at that symposium in Mexico, representatives from Uruguay were there. And we worked together, and within a few months, Uruguay became the first country on earth to legalize cannabis as a country. And they said, we're done with that prohibition stuff and all the organized crime that comes with it and all the harm that comes with it. So here we are in a very similar moment, except what's on the table is not prohibition, drug cartels, human trafficking, and all the terrible stuff that comes with it. What's on the table now is our very redemption, our very survival. Can we get it together?
Mm-hmm.
Love each other so that we can love our mother. It's the question.
Jamin, we had this conversation last time I was in the fire pit with you. That one day I joined with you like the whole day and everything. And it's so funny because so like I said, we always join all these different campaigns. Pato has been an advocate for legalization of cannabis for over 30 years, for a long time. He spoke more on this more than he spoke on Black Lives or anything, and it's so funny. So last week we had our first show since March with the band. Due to COVID, we're a band that tours, that does like 300 shows across the planet, all over the place. And we could not play anywhere. And then finally we were offered to do a show, but it was like due to COVID, they're like, we'll do the live stream kind of thing. And then they said our numbers weren't really all that great. But it's like, we know our fans, they want to come there in person and actually feel the whole vibe. But so I'm going to show you. So last week, we did our live stream show and the song was Legalize It. And that was one of the reasons why, like, as an advocate for the 420 games, being on the cover of Culture magazine, because it wasn't like the Snoop Dogg and whatever, we're all just going to get high and things like that. It's like, here's a real education about cannabis and why we need to legalize, for hemp, for growing, for food, for clothing, for infrastructure, for a lot of different things. Like, people have this miseducation, and we've had to go into states after states after states. I've literally watched every state that we went into and bring this message to the people who did not want to hear it at all. And I told Pato, we was in Wisconsin, he goes, I'm not going to change my message. I was like, they're not going to want to hear this. They're going to stone us. They're going to chase us out and whatever. He's like, I'm not going to change my message. This is my message, which I want everybody to hear. And little by little by little, by gaining a little bit of understanding, like I was explaining to Daniel before, it took decades, it took years, but little by little, if you look at the map now, it's so green. there's only a few states where it's like totally illegal. At least, most states are going medical, they're going decriminalization, they're going, on different levels and stuff. So I'm going to share this with you. This was last week's thing. I think you'll like it. All right. Is this it? Oh, yeah. Hold on. All right. Here we go. Oops. Wait a minute. I forgot I got to like do the boxes. Oh, yeah, that's the boxes. Oops. All my notes. Oops. Here we go. All right. Oops. Sorry. There it is. All right, enjoy.
Is it, man? All over the world.
Beautiful.
Sensi Mila. Legalize it. And Pato Bantam will advertise it. Sure. Letter to the president. Letter to the president. Letter to the president. Letter to the president. They send a letter to the residents of the president. A stamp on the front saying very urgent. The message inside went something like legalize it. Sensimilla. Sensimilla is a herb that grows naturally, just like any other plant or tree. Natural as the birds, natural as the bees, and just like them sensi are to be free, to be grown anywhere that we please, in the city, in the town, in the country, in the hills and in the valley. Sensi should be there for everyone to see. Me send a letter to the residents of the president. A stamp on the front saying very urgent. The message inside went something like legalize it. To us, sensi a drug is very absurd. It should be known as a natural herb. Let me try that again. Let me try that again. Let me try that again. To cause sensi a drug is very absurd. It should be known as a natural herb. Let me try that one more time. To cause sensi a drug is very absurd. It should be known as a natural herb. So much diseases sensi has cured. That's why doctors use it all around the world. For glaucoma and fever, rheumatism, arthritis and asthma, insomnia, emphysema, and to block epileptic seizure, to alleviate the pain and nausea associated with the AIDS and cancer. Some say it is the best stress reliever. Lord knows I'm a believer. So give me me ganja cookie, me herbal tea, sensimilla is IRA. I don't care what no government say. Sensimilla is okay. Ganja cookie and me herbal tea. Sensimilla is IRA. I don't care what no government say. Sensimilla is okay. That's why I do not sniff no coke. I only smoke Sensimilla. Dubwise style. Yeah, we got Gavin on the bass. We got Damien on the drums. Rough. percussion. Drum and percussion. Yeah, we got an echo on the percussion, yeah. All the way from Kenya, Africa. Rhythm section. Rough and ready. Rhythm full of culture, y'all. Give me the one drop. We want legalization, decriminalization, and emancipation for all those sentenced to incarceration for participation with the healing of the nation. It's just another case of political insanity, abusing the rights of humanity. But we should plant a seed of this weed that we need to avoid an ecological calamity. We can use it for paper to save some trees. Use it for fuel to save some seas. Use it for medicine to help fight disease. And use it for food when we're hungry. Give me ganja cookie, me herbal tea. Sensimilla Hills, I don't care what no government say. Sensimilla is okay. Ganja cookie and me herbal tea. Sensimilla is and I don't care what no government say. Sensimilla is.
Oh my goodness. You know what, Antoinette, you have made this the coolest press conference on earth. It's that simple. And look at how we're rooting down to the roots of our problems and just like, just right to it. No messing around, right? That's the power of us, all of us together, and willing to stick it out and put in the hours, the long hours.
It's really crazy. Like a song could actually influence the mind of our youth and of the people and of the conservatives. Like I said, in the progressive places, it's one thing, but when you're going into Wisconsin and Texas and Arizona and Houston, and trust me, as we traveled, we've been stopped, we've been profiled, we've been held, we've been searched, we've been abused, and we know better. It's like, we already know they're going to sit there and target us. Look at the dreadlocks and stuff, and I've gone through so many instances with the police before, gone to court, gone to jail, people have served time. But now that it's finally changed, where it's like, well, we were traveling through Washington a few years ago when they finally changed it. Somebody had gave us like pounds of weed. And I was sitting there, what are we going to do this? And when we got pulled over by the popo, he was sitting there trying to hide it in the seat. And then when they found it, we're all sitting there like, oh my God, we're all going to prison. We're all going to be wearing pink jumpsuits and things like that. And he was like, because the law had just changed, they had to let us go. But he gave us all tickets for not wearing seatbelts in the back of the van. $250 each. We spent like thousands of dollars, and then like having to go back to like different states and different courts and different things like that. But he's always been fighting and pushing for it in the hardest places. If you don't deliver that message to the people who don't want to hear it, they will never ever hear that message. So you got to keep on trying, you got to keep on pushing, you got to keep on talking, because eventually you're going to win them on their side. Those same people who fought against it and who thought it was drugs, they end up saying that cannabis saved their lives. A friend of ours had colon cancer and they said he was going to die. They told him he was going to die. And he's like, something, forget you. And he did the Rick Simpson treatment for 5 years. And now he's totally clear. No cancer in his body whatsoever. The children in Montana finally legalized. And there was a kid who was like dying. He had tubes all over him. And the father was giving him like cannabis oil just and stuff, and it was saving him. He was eating, he was running, he was playing, he was doing all these things. And when they shut it down where they couldn't get access, the baby died. So it was like, it became like a very strong thing for us to sit there and let's keep on pushing for decriminalization, for giving people access for health, for health reasons. This is part of like serving humanity, so it's beautiful. But that was fun. We had a great day that day. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful. Yeah. And just look at how far we've come. And you see, right now we're at this moment, this singularity where everything's exponential. The good, the bad, and the ugly are all going exponential at once. And this is us exponentially coming together, because I believe we need to have a press conference, and this building off of what Jimena was so beautifully saying earlier. We need a press conference in English, in Spanish, in Swahili, in Lakota, in Mandarin Chinese, in Russian, in Portuguese, in every language, right? And we're going to need press conferences that really get really focused. We might need, a multi-hour press conference just on climate change. Climate change is the biggie, right? And I mean, I was there in the East Bay fire of, when was it? 90, 91, I forget what year, but the big fire. And I mean, they were on that 24/7. We should be on this 24/7. Well, the conversation is running 24/7. This Zoom room that you're in right now runs 24/7. Sometime in the middle of the night, it resets every 24 hours. If you've been going 24 hours straight, boop, it'll hit a wall and you reset, but no big deal. We just restart and we're off and running 24/7.
Is that on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
What's that?
You're 24/7.
The 24/7 is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This room is open and it's a safe place, and you can come here and be with people who love you. And we're all here together. And you'll see Marco there late at night, way into the wee hours of the morning, Jimena, Claudia, and it's just awesome. So anyway, but then there are certain days we get really focused. So up until now, it's been Tuesdays and Fridays. Tuesdays is the Solution Club, and Fridays is the Block Party. Now we just added Thursdays, right? And we're just getting warmed up. I mean, the vision from the beginning was get to 24/7. Well, we're at 24/7, but we're getting really focused now. And I believe the press conference is the single biggest leap. It's exponential. So of course, the next big leap is going to be way bigger than all the previous ones. Everything's exponential right now. So with this going every week, a press conference every Thursday, right? Perhaps with a different theme, a different focus, fine, whatever. But the basics are, look, we got room for 100 people to present every Thursday, 2 minutes each-ish. We're experimenting. Okay, maybe it's going to be 5 minutes. All right, fine. All right, but we'll work it out. But let the world speak and let the world listen, because this isn't a press conference necessarily for major media, not yet, right? When Patos was working decades ago, that was not mainstream at all. I got to jump in and help make it mainstream because I'm ex-Microsoft, I'm friends with President Fox, and just like all this, and my great-grandfather was the largest grower of hemp in the world in the Victorian era, Diego Pellicer. So there you have it. It just, everything aligned. Right now, everything is aligning, right? Right now, the big news is, you've got Guy McPherson, Yatao with the exponential planetary overheating. You got food healers with Dr. Silas Rao. myself, Ray, and others working on feeding everyone, right? You've got so many initiatives coming together. Black Lives Matter, healing, right? Atonement, building the bridges, bridging the divide, having those conversations, right? Getting it on the table already. Let's have the conversation. That's what we're all about here. And it's just going exponential. I mean, I can just feel it with the success of today that you made successful. And yes, I'm talking to you.
Damon, I gotta tell you, just like Asaki said earlier, it's like you have the coolest Zooms out of all of them. I'm in tons of them and everything. But from the first time we had met, and I met Jabina the same night, and then I met Marco later and everything. And Kate, Kate was so awesome. She brought me into a lot of these things. But your energy and your vibe is very, very, very sincere. I feel it. I'm not a psychic like Asaki, but just my own mother spirit intuition is sitting there telling me is like this brother is on it, on an honest level and a very sincere level. And I love how you gave everybody the time and their energy, but you're gonna have to cut some people off though at times, even me. But it's just your generosity and your tolerance for everything is very genuine, and it's very real, and it's very focused. So I felt that immensely today, and I think a lot of other people did as well too. And if they've been in other Zooms, they know what I'm talking about. So this is like really my favorite group, my favorite campfire that I love to jump into, and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antoinette. Oh my goodness. That just means the world to us. And I say to us because those of us that have made this 24/7, we're family, right? We got each other's backs totally 24/7. It's a 24/7 thing. And yeah, we sleep and all that, some of us anyway. But no, but and see, that's the thing. You grow to love it. And the it is we're loving all of us. See, Melissa and I, my partner and I, we talk about our partnership as a whole orange, right? We're like two halves of an orange that came together into a whole orange. And we are coming together as a whole humanity, as a stage in coming together as a whole world. And then next, whole universe. Why not? Let's go party it up with the aliens, and it's wholeness. We trend towards wholeness. That's love. Love is the attraction, the coming together. We want to merge. Maybe we don't know how. Maybe we've convinced ourselves we don't know how. Children know how, right? I mean, like I talk about growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area, the East Bay. To this day, the most integrated place I know on earth. My best friend was Black growing up. I thought nothing of it. There was nothing. I mean, there was just the whole rainbow was there. Everybody was there, and it's just we grew up in this culture, in this environment of just togetherness and sharing. It's just what it was. I had to move to Seattle, Washington. After my parents' divorce, my mom was. I had to move to Seattle, Washington to learn about racism.
But it's kind of weird though, because you think that like the East Bay or San Francisco, because it's very liberal, and we think about like how liberal the West Coast actually is, and then we think about how racist the South is. But sometimes white liberalism on the West Coast is even harder than dealing with racist rednecks in the South. It's a weird, different kind of mentality that they never really dive into. And a lot of white people will sit there and say, I'm not really racist. And then they'll sit there and say they don't have white privilege. It's like if they can't even acknowledge that part, they're like, I work for everything that I've had. And then they fight you on it and then tell you what they've done, to sit there and support Black people and everything. It's like you're trying to show me your receipt and then you're done. And then or that's actually it. That's really not just enough and stuff. So even though it was weird. I just saw that thing on the episode of This Is Us. Somebody made me watch this series. I spent time watching all 5 seasons just to get to this one part. And the one part was when he sat there and said, it's like, oh, the protesting with George Floyd. He goes, this was different. And he's like, but it was never different for us. It was different for them waking up. And it's like, we never talked about it. It's like, how could I talk about it? How could I talk about it with you if you're going to, start crying and start bawling, and we don't want you to feel bad, because when we want to sit there and talk about equality, white people start feeling bad and feeling guilty and feeling shame. And it's like, we're not trying to make you feel guilty or feel shame. We just want to have an honest conversation. So we avoid talking about it because we don't want to hurt people's feelings, or they get all defensive or they start to break down in front of you. And it's like, all right, let's just not talk about it. Let's just move on and just talk about the weather or something else, So that makes it really kind of difficult, and it makes it difficult. And most of the Karen episodes that you see are liberal women. They're not conservatives. They are liberals. They are Democrats. They are liberals. They're always like, I love everybody. I don't see color. And they're the first ones to call the popo on us for any little thing, and it's like, we got to have those conversations. We need to address the unconscious bias. So San Francisco is not far from Seattle. The only thing is that when you leave the city and you get up towards through Oregon and Seattle, you have to go through all those rural areas. That's where the Proud Boys are. That's where the militiamen are. That's where you have the outskirts of a different mentality. And that's why that kind of infiltrates, how people are actually seeing things. So it kind of combines, we just have a lot of work to do. And we just have to sit there and be like, let's embrace it. We understand what the problem is. Let's actually address it and not run from it. Let's have the conversations. Go ahead and cry on my shoulder, and I'll hug you, and I'll give you comfort. But let's have this conversation, because I'm not going to beat you up, like me and Potts will get in a fight. He'll beat me up and then he'll hold me and encourage me and love me, so that kind of thing, that's where we got to go.
When Jackie Solomon and Melvin were running the Vegans of Color on the block party, they had some really great speakers who came and talked about white fragility. And it would be so great to have them back, actually.
Yes, please.
Well, why don't we do a whole press conference where the theme is, let's kind of like what we were talking about last night, Antoinette. We started to play with the theme a bit, but it's about building the bridges and healing and atonement. And, what I'd really love to do is pair that with food healers, right? Because so much of it can be summed up with the fire department that showed up, a minute later than they should have, right? All right, the flames have grown and all that. Are we gonna sit around, doing a circle of feeling so that the fire department can feel okay about the fact, why don't we chop, get to work and just hose the thing down already? Put the fire out, feed everybody, right? So part of the conversation and part of the healing is beyond words and hugging and all that. That's all great. Let's also put some food in some bellies, right? And get everybody up to a basic minimum. And then we can breathe a deep sigh of relief. Everyone's fed, everyone's got a roof over their head, everyone's got basic medical care. Now, does that mean everything's fine? No. But it's like, first, let's put out the fire, and then we can start the reconstruction. But if the fire is still blazing, and meanwhile, the neighbor across the street smoking a cigarette with his skill saw working on his expansion to his house, while his neighbor's house across the street is in flames, something's wrong with that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we got to start with feeding everyone. We keep coming back to ground zero. And tomorrow morning, 10 hours from now, we're kicking off Food Healers on block party number 41, 7 a.m. Pacific time, right here in this channel. So let's not forget to get some sleep, everybody, at some point. Hey, at least a couple hours. But then remember, we also do food healers from 7 to 9 p.m. because it's a 24-hour block party. And the last 6 hours are in Ireland, so that those of us here on the West Coast can finally, those of us here in the Americas can get some sleep. But anyway. But really, let's do a press conference with the themes of healing the injustices, and let's deal with the racism head on, and let's deal with the hunger head on, because the two go hand in hand, right? As long as there are people who are hungry, that's a bludgeon that the privileged are beating over the heads of the unfortunate, making the bad worse. And it's got to stop. We've got to put out the fire, and then we can talk, right? Feed first, and then we can talk and cry and be as fragile as we want. But we got to feed everybody. And we got to stop beating around the bush. That's why we do this every Friday for 4 hours, right? And that repetition is we're finding really powerful. It's like Chinese water torture. You can try to ignore it at first, but you just keep doing it, keep doing it. And there's something about the weekly cycle, right? And Thursday, Friday, come on, these are our beautiful golden days. Why? Because you're happy. Because the weekend's not quite there yet, but it's so close you can taste it. And so everybody's kind of in a good mood. Thursday, we do the hard work. Friday, we party. Saturday, we sleep it off.
Antoinette, do you, or Ashaki, do you know Jackie Solomon? Do you know her? Would you be down with getting me putting you guys in you lady goddesses in touch with her? Because I think, you know, we're really onto something here, and I would really, we would all, I'm sure, love to invite you to co-create this segment of people of color so that we can come and witness and listen. And I just think it's time to do that again.
Count me in.
Okay.
Like you said, my pleasure. She'd love that. Yeah, count us in. We're there.
I'll text her tomorrow and give her your contact info and see what we can get going. That'd be really awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. We would love to. Love to.
Because we've now got the platform. We've got the weekly press conference. We've got the weekly block party, which is in a way a celebration of the press conference, but also where we begin to hash out some of the stuff that's, you know, we don't quite have a handle on, right? Or maybe there's something underneath the surface and we really need to root down. Oh, Asaki? Or were you waving goodbye to someone, or say, okay, gotcha, yeah. And, you know, see, like, we're just learning how to socialize here. If this were somebody's living room, you'd say goodbye to everybody. But here it's like parts in the chat and parts here and there. You know, there's all this body language and stuff. And the women are getting everything. And the guys are like, huh? What happened? Right. So anyway. Anyway, so, you know, we're learning how to hang together, how to live together, and how to work our stuff out. Right? Wow, it's so exciting. And the thing is, once you get a taste of this, you never go back. And friends don't let friends not be here. Friends don't let friends not be here. Okay. So, and so this thing is just going exponential. It's absolutely going exponential. We've had enough of just letting the powers that be do their thing, right? They're on track to destroying.
Speaking of the powers that be doing their thing, I was going to hop in here and do. I really, I probably should have hopped in earlier. Sorry, guys. Everybody's gone now, but I didn't do my 2-minute yet, so I'm feeling obligated, given the weight of it, that I should probably do it now.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is invite everybody to a conversation concerning free and new energy. And this inspiration came to me. Actually, I feel that the walls of this place kind of have a, after you're here long enough, you start sort of hearing patterns in the conversation. And one of the themes that keeps coming up is energy, and free energy being one of them. And we, you know, being the fact that a lot of the folks here came from the harmonic convergence, and disclosure is a big part of that disclosure of ET phenomenon. Not to get too far out into the left field, but a lot of folks that talk about that talk about free energy, because if the ETs are here, they're not getting here on SO gasoline. They're not getting here on coal-powered steamships. At any rate, long story short, one night, Kate Roberts was talking with me about free energy, and she held up to the screen a design that somebody had made for a gas station, and it was like the flux capacitor from Back to the Future. You know, Doc Brown's like crazy drawing he made, and there was a patent number. This random dude gave her this drawing, and we punched it in, and it's an actual serious machine. It's got a Google patent. It's been designed by 7 inventors, and if you look this thing up, the keystone inventor is a guy named he's retired Lieutenant Colonel Army Thomas Bearden, and he's got a huge history of free energy. And the device itself is a motionless electromagnetic generator, so it defies everything that we've been taught in school, that you need to burn something, you need to hook a horse up to something, you need to create steam or motion to make stuff happen. This guy's like, no, we've been taught wrong. Basically, there's a way to harness energy from the energy that's all around us. The universe is teeming with energy, and we can harness this. We don't have to burn rocks like we did in the 1890s. We don't have to burn stuff. We can take a more advanced approach. Unfortunately, this has been suppressed. So I'm gonna finish up here quick. My open house is gonna be on the first Thursday of the month, and it's gonna be here at the Conversation, so you don't have to go too far away. It'll be for half an hour at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And general format's going to be a third of the first 10 minutes, we're going to have an introduction to a specific device and an inventor. So what I've discovered is there's a ton of these things out there. And there's a lot of evidence that this stuff is not, we've had a bill of goods pulled. We've got the wool pulled over our eyes. A bill of goods has been sold to us that this stuff doesn't exist. Good reason for that. It's trillions of dollars that are being protected. As tinfoil hat that sounds, you know, if you do any amount of digging, you can find that it is the case that these things do exist, and that we're being basically lied to about it, like a lot of other things. The second part, or the second part of the group discussion will be about the subversion of this technology and the implications of that subversion. And at some point, we'll probably have a discussion or something about how to build your own. Maybe every other session that we do. But yeah, the reason why this is so important, just to finish up with you guys real quick, is because I feel that every single issue we talk about here is affected by the potential of free energy. If this stuff does exist and it's being subverted, it's like we're operating on the outer spectrum of a solution to these problems. For example, free energy can desalinate seawater, any type of pollution that we're worried about. Vertical farming is possible. You know, you'd be propelled into a post-scarcity economy. It truly is the silver bullet, and it would make sense that if this does exist, that they would be preventing us from, they being, the powers that be, preventing us from accessing that, because it would take down the most massive markets, oil, coal, natural gas, nuclear. These are multi-trillion dollar you know, the petrodollar is key to America's grip on the planet. So yeah, this is absolute power corrupts absolutely. It would make sense that would be occurring. At any rate, to conclude, there are two other inventors I'd like to cite. Andrea Rossi has something called the ECAT, which is a low energy nuclear reaction device. That's not even, this isn't even something that pulls energy from the vacuum. It's actually something that operates within the principles of physics as we understand them now. And then if anybody saw Thrive 2, there's an African inventor from Zimbabwe named Maxwell Chikumbutso, and he was extracting energy from radio waves. So there's a plethora of this stuff out there, and we're being lied to. And I feel that having a group discussion on this is a way for us to self-educate and become aware of this. And through that conversation, at the very least, the awareness will help us to determine what to do next. Maybe we can, you know, come up with some solutions. At the very least, link that to these other issues that we face. You know, any type of problem with scarcity, I believe, would be easily rectified by free energy. So, thanks for your time tonight. Sorry it took so long to step up to the plate. A little sleepy today.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine, Christopher. And thank you. Wow.
Thank you, Christopher. And you're totally spot on. I mean, we've all heard that, you know, they killed Tesla for that very same reason. And every other inventor and other people who are actually seeking into these things. And I've been seeing, you know, they're doing all kinds of things. These kids in Africa are coming out of stuff with doo-doo. You know, I mean, there's a lot of different things. It's like, what happened to windmills? What happened to this? What happened to that? What happened to whatever? But you're right. We should have discussions on this. And, you know, even though my hands are in like many pots, but I'm a woman, so women can multitask in a lot of different things. I can play music and I can speak and I can do this, but it's really important because I visited a lot of different eco villages and sustainable places and some cults and different things, but it's like watching how they're actually doing things, you know, as far as like if you want to be on the grid, off the grid, or how we can just, you know, work, you know, from what we actually exist, which is adaptability. There's so many different ways. And I think moving forward, I think a lot of people really want to move into that self-sustainability. You know, they really do. They just need to sit there and hear the support from others and know that it's actually possible, you know, to educate the people and that it's possible. You know, I'm trying to get my land out here. That's the reason why I moved out here, was to buy this land and to be self-sustainable, to grow my farm, to be self-sufficient, to be farm to table, to go solar. You know, there's a lot of different things that I want to do, but I always listen and see like how people are actually doing things, like watching the examples and what they're actually doing. Hempcrete, you know, I got guys who do hempcrete, I got people who do domes, I got people who do this. It's like pool our collective resources. The only thing that we don't have is the money. So the money and the grant writers, but they're out there. They're out there. One of y'all knows somebody somewhere. So, you know, let's put our resources together and let's do it. And the land is here and it's cheap. You know, you can buy hundreds of acres out here and do things, you know, and show them how it's done. You know, but I love that, you know, so please share with us more on that, Christopher.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well, we're over 10 hours in without so much as a 5-minute break. We literally haven't had so much as a 5-minute break today. We played music. The music was super awesome. That was a really actually a super nice couple of breaks. But I'm going to need to wrap up as soon as possible because we got the block party starting in less than 10 hours and I need some time with my sweetie. But is there anyone who would like to present who hasn't presented yet? You know, like, you know, a couple minute kind of presentation, because I want to make sure that everyone who wants to does. There's no pressure. We've all participated, and so we've all done more than enough. I just want to make sure that everyone is complete and no one is left wanting to present and, you know, get on the record, so to speak, at the first press conference. James, what's going on there? Must be 5 in the morning there in Ireland.
All right, Jim. Yeah, it's just almost 5 a.m. here now. Have been loving every minute of it, and throughout the whole 10 hours, I haven't moved, barring to get up and make a cup of tea and use the odd bathroom break. But yeah, I think this is, you know, a credit to you and your vision from the outset anyway, and I'm just privileged to be part of it and to be become, you know, familiar and hopefully friends with all of you here, because I don't know everybody here in the room yet. And I emphasize yet because I hope that we all take away from this one very important lesson, which is the togetherness of this and the fact that we need to repeat this often. And we also need to encourage our friends and, yes, everybody from all aspects of life. Everybody has an important say, and everybody has a unique perspective in life. And yes, many subjects were spoken about tonight, and they are all equally important. But we also must come to terms with the fact that there are also those that need to be prioritized due to their urgency and due to the urgency of the situations that we're facing. But without getting too depressing or too down in any of that, I just want to say that I'm very happy to have been a part of this, and I will continue obviously to be a part of this as long as I breathe a breath, and I hope that everyone else will do that as well, because if this continues as James' vision, and I have always, you know, from the outset, have you know, grasped his vision and seen the, you know, where it can lead and where it can take us, and I can see it now taking off. And we need to communicate. We need to have these conversations. We need to find the solutions, and we need to do it together, regardless of. And we do need to have our conversations, and we do need to atone for a lot of our past, because, you know, it goes without saying that unless we come to the table and address these situations and atone for these situations and understand each other's side, we can't go on together and co-create together and, you know, create a network of intelligence that will get us out of the messes that we're facing. We have to do it together, and we have to understand each other. And understanding is also about accepting that there are wrongs that have been done and they need to be addressed, simple and plain. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on, and I just want to say it's been beautiful, it's been lovely. I do have to get a few hours sleep myself, and I look forward to having a chat with most of you again tomorrow on the block party. And good night from Jesse as well. God bless to all of you.
Awesome, James. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All righty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and chill out, but the after party continues. And so anybody want to be host in particular? And